Alright guys, what's good? Jay Lee here. I got this Andrew Tate video with Brittany Renner to break down. Buckle up. I'm going to be breaking this down a lot. I'm going to be stopping this a lot. And making a lot of points from the red pill perspective, from a male perspective, from, the godly perspective, a moral perspective, practical, pragmatic perspective. And I'm just going to break all this down from what I know, from my experience, from what I believe is right. There's a lot to get into here. This is actually a video channel from another guy, I forget his name, in the Red Pill Manosphere. So he's going to be kind of interjecting at times, but mostly it's just Tate and Renner talking, which is gold. This is a really good, they bring up wonderful points in this that all young men today are going through, and young men and women. It's one of the cruxes and core problems of what's going on in the red pill. So I think there's a lot to be gained from listening to this, a lot to learn and break down from this. So let's jump into it.
I'm 30, single, mom. My checkered past is all over Instagram.
Renner, the greatest talent scout of her generation. She scrambled in the pocket with Colin Kaepernick, but had to cut ties after Fashion Nova couldn't support his political protest. She took a romantic trip to Rack City.
And this is just female hypergamy. And it's female hypergamy microwaved, female hypergamy exploited, female hypergamy just amped up, because we have a generation where women are able to very easily do that as opposed to past generations where it wasn't so accessible. Famous men are accessible now, rich men are accessible now. And the irony is that women as a collective, I don't know if it's irony, but it's the reality. Women as a collective maybe have picked up on that, and that could have a lot to do with why something like sex is so hard to get these days for the average man. Because really, and I don't know if this is subconscious or if it's just biologically conscious, but what women have done, and I've talked about this a lot on my channel, is they've upped the price of sex. They've commoditized themselves to such an extent that they're not going to give it away for free. And this is the catch-22 of when we say, and Tate is going to get into this too, how he talks about how a woman devalues herself by giving away sex. I would argue that, I mean, that's true in a general sense, but I would argue that sex is not accessible in that way so easily. And even Brittany Renner herself talks later that, well, she says later that her body count is, I think she says like 25 or something like that, which is probably a lie. We always say multiply by 3, right? But at least 3, right? But it proves, and she says a lot of those, like only 8 of those guys, and I don't know, I do know a lot of women do keep count, of their bodies, the bodies that they catch, the people, the men that they have sex with. Some of them even put it in their diary for whatever sick reason or sordid reason. It's like, anyway, I don't know, man. Like maybe guys do that too. I don't know. But she says that only 8 of those guys of the 25 or however much she claims that she slept with, and I think she made that video when she was in her 20s, something like that. Only 8 of those guys were regular guys, normies, guys who weren't rich, guys who weren't athletes, which also speaks to the fact that all a woman has to do is be attractive and sexual and young and put herself out there. And it's very easy to put yourself out there on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and then guys will come flooding your DMs, and it's insane. Or even the dating sites. And really, when we talk about hypergamy, the only job that women have to do is sift. That's it. They just got to sift through the men who are hollering at them, the men who are hitting on them. That's all they have to do. Really, that's all. All a woman has to do is be attractive and sift. She doesn't have to develop a character. She doesn't have to develop a personality. She doesn't have to develop a sense of humor. She doesn't have to develop intelligence. She needs none of those things to get sex. And even a relationship. And even, sadly enough, marriage and kids and things, and all those things. A woman doesn't have to do any of that. And men need to step their game up. That's man's fault. A lot of that is men's fault. It's men's fault. It's men's fault that women don't have to step their game up. All they have to do is be sexual. That's men's fault. And we have low standards. And this is why, guys have post-nut clarity, because once you get that nut, you're like, oh, wait a minute. What else is she bringing to the table? Right? Is she funny? Is she have a good personality? Does she have a good character? Is she loyal? Is she kind? Is she moral? Is she humble? Would she be a good mother? Does she treat me right? These are gigantic questions that men need to be asking themselves. Does she have the same faith as me? Does she share the same belief as me? These things are important. Men need to have hypergamy too, but in a different way. Because it goes without saying that men want attractive women. And women want attractive men as well, which is the imbalance. Not only do men have to be attractive, but we have to have resources. We have to be resourceful and competent and collected and successful. And that success branches out into so many different areas of life. How to talk to people, how to carry yourself, how to have confidence, how to negotiate, how to get, things smoothly that you want in life without much problems. A guy who's got a lot of problems is the biggest turnoff ever. A guy who can't navigate life competently, who suffers from depression or he's antisocial, doesn't have good social skills. The reason why those things are important, confidence, social skills, the ability to verbally negotiate what you want, to get things we want. The reason why that's so important, particularly to women, is because it equates to a good life. It equates to quality children. It equates to success in the modern world. And it's true, it really does. And I'm not saying those things aren't important, but this is all part and parcel of female hypergamy. But yet when you think about what do men want from women, none of those things are required, which is actually bad. Men need to require those things from women. She needs to be able to negotiate. She needs to be able to talk. She needs to have a personality. One of the biggest things I hate is when I'm trying to date a girl, or I'm talking to a girl, or I'm just communicating with any girl, and they have poor communication skills, or they're insulated, or they're depressed, or like something's wrong with the way, like they're not expressive, or they're not very intelligent with the way they form their sentences, the way they talk. It's just like, yeah, why would I want to have a kid with that? I want to have an intelligent kid. I want to have a kid who's adjusted. I want to have a kid who's got morals. I want to have a kid who is going to be able to navigate the world in a successful, good, peaceful, calm, quality way. Why would I marry a woman who can't give that to my child? And so a lot of the things that Tate talks about, I actually disagree with a lot of the stuff. Like, he's right, but he's also subtly wrong. Because it's not enough for a man just to have a pretty woman. It's not enough for a woman just to be pretty. It's not enough for a woman just to be sexual. That's not enough. It's good for a fun time, maybe. It's good for some sex, but that's it. And this is also another big problem with women of today, is they learn too late. They're learning too late how to be a quality human being. They're learning too late about what real values are. And I blame a lot of it on modern feminism that tells them to just go out and be promiscuous. Go out and just sow your wild oats. Go out and have fun in your 20s. Your 20s are to have a fun time. And then you learn in your 30s, well, that's too late. You're wasting a whole decade of your life, if not longer. Some women never learn. Some women stay immature until they're 50. And it's sad. It really is sad, because it's like, that's a wasted life. It's a wasted family, potential for a family. It's a wasted potential to raise quality kids. It's wasted. On what? On fun times, promiscuity. And it's not that there's not pleasure in that. It's just that look at all that you've foregone. Could have had a wonderful family, could have had a wonderful husband, could have had a wonderful life. And yes, monogamy is limiting. Yes, monogamy limits your pleasure, it limits your fun, it limits your experiences. You know, a lot of times when a woman's like, "Oh, I just want to go out and have good experiences. I want to have adventures." That's keywords for I want to get rammed. I want to get plowed by a lot of guys. That's what that means. It's just they can't say that. So, it's sad, man. It's sad. And what's weird too is like as they're doing that, they have this hypergamy along with it. I don't believe what Andrew Tate says when he says that women are just out here devaluing themselves by sleeping with any old guy. I don't believe it's any old guy. That's not from my experience. It's not how women are. They're hypergamous even when they're being promiscuous. They're hypergamous even during their fun years, their sex having years. And Brittany Renner is a great example of that. She's talking about, oh yeah, all these athletes, all these rappers that I've slept with, and it's like a prize to them. It's like a trophy room or something. Oh yeah, I slept with Tyga. And they really think they're better than other women because they've slept with famous guys. It's bonkers. It's narcissism at its most condensed. It really is. It's just absolute sociopathy. To think that you're better than other women because, to think that you're better than other women because you've slept with more celebrities or richer men, it's weird. I mean, that is like, I don't want no parts of that. That part of female nature, I don't know why it's there. It's because of hypergamy. It's hypergamy mixed with narcissism and pride and just ugliness. So you're gonna brag and boast about sleeping with Tyga and this NBA player and this NFL player and this rich guy, and somehow that makes you better than other women. You're a public toilet. And okay, yes, hypergamy's involved in that. It's not just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry who can jump in there. It's the richest guys, but that doesn't make it any better. I mean, I guess it makes it better, but it's all the same. You're a plaything. You're being passed around, and I don't care if it's a celebrity. I mean, I guess it's better than a celebrity, maybe in some ways, but it's basically the same thing. You're passed around. So any guy who inherits that, any guy who marries you inherits that. The Mia Khalifa syndrome, like the guy married her and then eventually he's like, yeah, I just can't do this. This is gross. You've been with all these guys. You still want to do a OnlyFans. You're for the streets. You have these street tendencies, and some women can reform themselves. I think in this video we'll see Brittany Renner has been reforming herself. You can tell that she's trying to get more depth and more growth and maturity. But we'll always remember her as Brittany Renner. And this is the sad thing. It's like, should you be judged for your past? Should you be judged for things you did? It's like, no, not necessarily. No. There's such a thing as redemption. There's such a thing as growth and maturity. True, but and I would say, we can forgive and we can move on and be like, okay, well, she changed, she got better. Yes, but it's hard, man. It's hard that your track record is there. It's hard that you have this past. It's hard on any guy who gets with you because he knows you're used. Sorry, that's just the way guys think. And it's kind of, I could see the double standard there, and it's kind of disheartening for women, right? It's like, oh, well, I can't, guys do it and they don't get judged. The reason why guys don't get judged is because it's an accomplishment for guys. Because it's not easy to do. And the reason why it's not good, it's a stain on a woman's reputation is because it is easy to do for a woman, and because you're supposed to be a quality mother. And to some extent, that is bad for guys, because it's like, well guys will just sleep, and there is a double standard, and I think that guys too should be shamed. I don't know about shame, but it's not good for guys either to do that, right? It's just there's so much consequences. But anyway, let's go on.
Tyga, but the Young Money Marvel was overly dedicated to his OnlyFans. She romanced a big baller in Ben Simmons, but passed him off to Kendall Jenner once she saw his jumper was beyond repair. We thought her love with Lil Uzi Vert was eternal, but it's tough to stay committed when all of your friends are dead. She secured the...
I mean, this is just the Kim Kardashian playbook. This is what Kim Kardashian did. The reason why we have Brittany Renners and this, that, and the thirds is because of Kim Kardashian. Because this is what Kim Kardashian did. How she got famous is she literally slept her way to the top. She slept with Ray J. She slept with this NBA player. She slept with this guy. With this. That's why women like Kim Kardashian and Brittany Renner. What's that other one? The one that Kanye dated, the bald head one. I forget her name. Amber Rose. The only reason, and nobody remembers Amber Rose, because, you know, if your only talent, at least like Kim Kardashian, is someone entertaining and women, she's, you know, she has qualities that people can still glom onto after they got famous. But it's like, you know, Amber Rose has no other qualities. She just was attractive, and she had sex with, and she had kids with Wiz Khalifa and Kanye West and this rapper and that rapper or whatever, Lil Wayne, or probably, who knows, right? The only reason these women are famous is because they've slept their way to the top. This is a modern phenomenon, and it's a crazy phenomenon. It's a biological phenomenon. It's hypergamy in action, and it's a way to manipulate hypergamy as well. It's not hypergamy just to secure quality genetics. It's hypergamy to secure a lifestyle for yourself, to secure fame. Mia Khalifa did it. To a lesser extent, Brie Olsen did it with hooking up with Charlie Sheen and her crap. And then they always come around, and what these women really want, I realized, I was thinking earlier, what these women really want is they just want fame. They want notoriety, and they don't care how they get it, even if it's in a negative light, and what they think they could do, which is what Kim Kardashian did. And she is the blueprint. She took the fame, and Paris Hilton as well. They took the fame of being loose, promiscuous women, dating and sleeping with high-profile, rich, famous men, and they used that as fuel to create a career for themselves. And this is and what it is really, if you look at you look at what it is behind the mask, you see Satan there, because what Satan is doing is he's implanting a blueprint in young women's minds. Oh, sex gets me something. Sex gets me where I want to be. It gets me into these luxurious townhomes. It gets me into these luxurious hotels. It gets me into these vacation homes. It gets me into these clubs. It gets me into these cars. It gets me into these, luxurious things that I could never have before. So sex is a tool. It's a commodity to get me where I want to go. And this is social engineering. It's psychological manipulation. This is how Satan works. The evil entities that be, how they work by, monkey see, monkey do. Oh, Kim Kardashian did it. Oh, Paris Hilton did it. Oh, Lindsay Lohan did it. Oh, Britney Spears did it. They all sold themselves as sexual beings. And look, they got rich. They got mansions. Now they're living the good life. All the luxurious things that I want, that I can't get working over here at the Dollar General, working over here at the dollar store, working over here at the local grocery stand. I got no prospects. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to sit down for 4 years and study. I want to have sex. I want to have fun. I want to just enjoy life. What's the quickest way to do that? And it's really not necessarily the quickest way to do that in the long run. In the long run, you pay a price. You pay the price. We all know these women are used goods. We all know that they're damaged in one way or another. And you can pull out of the nosedive to some extent. Maybe Brittany Renner's turning over a new leaf and she's making a change for her kids. And now she wants to be intelligent and articulate and grow as a person and woo woo woo, this, that, and the third, right? Fine. But you still have that past coming with you wherever you go. And it's like, you know, so a woman's a skank. Should she be condemned to hell or condemned to this life of pain and suffering? Like, you know, this is brought up later in the video, but no, not necessarily either. But there's a stain on your being and the idea of who you are. Now, yeah, you can come to God and turn over a new leaf and have a new life, and that's fine. But particularly when it comes to fame, because your whole past is, everybody knows already. So you can't live that down. That doesn't go anywhere. Like, it's, you know, and which is bonkers to me that, you know, someone like Kim Kardashian is famous. She's really only famous with women. Because guys look at Kim Kardashian and just roll their eyes and they're just like, nah, man, I don't take this woman seriously. How'd she get to where she got? She didn't earn it. She slept her way to the top. She didn't have a talent. She didn't have a skill that she worked for. She wasn't in the gym shooting free throws when nobody was around, shooting 1,000 free throws a day like Kobe Bryant. She wasn't doing that. All she did was open her legs. And men are right to think that. That's not fair. That's not quality. You're not a bad bitch. You're a manipulator. You're not a powerful diva. You are a parasite. Really, you're doing anything you can to get yourself ahead, and you didn't earn it. You didn't work for it. You didn't suffer for it. You just were promiscuous. And so guys look at that, and society should look at that, but guys look at that and they're just like, yeah, whatever. And it's annoying. There's nothing, it's just annoying. Like, these people, these women are just annoying. They're not interesting. They're not enriching. There's nothing about them that betters our life. There's nothing about them that, it's not even entertaining. It's like nails on a chalkboard. I wouldn't want to watch any Kim Kardashian episodes. I wouldn't want to listen to any Brittany Renner podcast or anything from these women. I don't want to hear them talk. What could they tell me? You know what I mean? It's like they don't bring anything else to the world. And if they're famous, if they stay famous after they got famous in the first place by sleeping with these high-profile men, if they stay famous, it's only because they're famous with women. And women who are vapid and shallow and materialistic and unintelligent, just like they are. That's it. And maybe there's a market for that because there's so many women out there who are like that, sadly. And these women could be good wives, could be good mothers, could be good citizens of the world. But instead they're just these selfish black holes. You know? They're just these cancer cells who just eat everything around them. Just these narcissistic parasites. You know, you can't have a relationship with that. The best you could do with that is sleep with it, have sex with it, and then leave it. And that's what guys do. That's why women are like, I don't understand why guys don't ever date me. I just can't keep a man. Because you don't have anything else to offer but sex. You don't have any qualities. You don't have any character. You don't have anything to bring to the table besides the physical. Sorry. And someone like Brittany Renner and Amber Rose and Kim Kardashian and Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears. I mean, at least Lindsay Lohan's kind of an actress, maybe, although she's terrible. I was watching something she was in and she's horrible. And Britney Spears, even though I think her music is horrible too. Christina Aguilera, you know, their music is bad to me. But at least they somewhat have a talent, I guess you could say. But these women, what's Brittany Renner's talent? I don't even understand. Why is this woman famous? She's famous because she went viral for being a slut, for sleeping with Drake. It is really clown world out here. But this is a way that women learn. Oh, I can sleep around and get something. I can get something from that. Oh, okay. Let me do that. And it plays into the biology that they already had, hypergamy. And they know guys want to sleep with them. And then it becomes an ego thing where they're like, oh, I can tell this guy wants to sleep with me, and that builds up my ego. And what's funny is a lot of times life can take that out of them. And for me, I look at women who have low-paying jobs, like they're attractive, but they work at a grocery store. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And guys should start doing that too. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, okay, you're attractive, but you don't have anything else going on. That's when guys start having standards. Is like, oh, you know what? Oh, you work at a restaurant. You know, you're really attractive, but you work at a restaurant. Like, why would I care? You know, like you don't enhance my life in any way. Like, sure, I could get sex anywhere. What makes you special? And so these women walking around with this undeserved sense of self-accomplishment, just because guys want to have sex with them, is a really insane concept. It's insane. It's just like, no, that didn't mean anything. But anyway, let's go on.
Certified lover boy himself in Drake, but father time is undefeated. She dated strip club Hall of Famer James Harden.
This is a certified hood classic.
To this day. To this day.
Women need to change their attitudes before they change their makeup. I'm sure that even more than that, change your attitude. Because women will go out there and they would want to change this, they want to change that, all the things that don't count. If you learn to, the same way how women can go out there and learn to put makeup on, learn to cook, learn to wash by hand, learn to please a man.
There you go. There's a woman speaking sense. Now, one thing I will say is there are women coming out and speaking more sense these last years. There is. That woman was speaking some sense. Yeah, do something pragmatic. Do something practical. Learn how to do something that's positive to enhance people around you, to enhance not just your life. Give back instead of just being this black hole succubus. Right? Me, you know. Learn something that's positive. Now, of course, let's listen to Brittany Renner. And she's in her transformation phase. This is what I've noticed is that women, a lot, and it's usually because they have kids. And what does the Bible say? The Bible says a woman will be saved through childbirth. Think about what that means. It means once a woman has a child, she's like, oh, it's time to grow up. I can't just skate through life anymore. I can't just be a window shopper in life anymore and just pick the things I want. Oh, I like this guy, you know, this experience and this. It's all great when you're a woman. It's all great when you're an attractive young girl. But then when you have a kid, it's like, oh, reality. Now I got this ball and chain. Now I got to raise this kid. Hopefully you love it enough to do that. Hopefully you love your child enough to change. But sadly, a lot of times, it's just this, there's no dad in the picture. You're a single mom because you were sleeping around. And that's sad for the kid because single parent statistics for kids are not good. They're very bad. Which is why society, to whatever extent it's gone down, that's a big reason for it. Because of these single moms, because they think there's no consequence, because feminism lied to them. Feminism is the number one enemy of women. It's insidious. It literally is the devil. The devil's behind feminism. It's anti-woman. Feminism is anti-woman. Which is why a lot of these phony beta liberal men, these white knight male feminist ally men, that's a lot of the reason they're in that game, because it benefits them. Oh yeah, you can go be promiscuous, you can sleep around, maybe I could sleep with you, right? This is why a lot of these men are feminists. If you're a man and you identify as a feminist, I mean, that couldn't be more of a red flag. There's not a bigger red flag than that. When a man identifies as a feminist, you're a wolf. That's what you really are. You're a scavenger. You're an opportunist. You are a profiteer. You want to profit off of and exploit this institution, which is really evil in its foundation, because it tells women lies. It lies to women. Oh, go have your fun. And then what happens? There's consequences. And Brittany Renner, who is now 30 or 31 or however old she is, she's past her fun days, which is right on time. Right when women wake up is 28, 29, 30. That's when we have what's called in the red pill community the epiphany phase. Oh, now I got to grow and change. You know, I can't just be this skank for the rest of my life. I got a kid now, and now I got to worry about my kid. And da-da-da-da. And a lot of times, these women, they resent their kids. They don't like their kid, which is even worse for the kid. At least if she loves them, that it gives them a shot, because the statistics are not in their favor. Kids need both parents who love each other in a monogamous, traditional household, where both the mom and the dad are monogamous and loving. That's a foundation. That's a solid foundation to have a good life for a lot of these kids, right? But you got single moms out here playing both roles, playing the mommy and the daddy. No. And a lot of times these women resent the kids because the kid is the reason they can't party anymore. The kid is the reason that their hoe phase ended. The kid is the reason that they have to cancel all their dick appointments. Right? It's because of that kid, and they resent it. Kid is the reason they got to change. The kid is the reason now they got to transform. They thought they could just be a jet-setting, Instagram escort for the rest of their life. But oops, got pregnant. Oops, now all that changes. The kid is like ruins their career as a hoe. It ruins their career of fun. And it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible for a woman to use her vagina, to use her sex to get rich. Many women do it. Porn stars. I'm not saying it's not. And this is why abortion is so popular. This is why women are raging against men who want to save these children's lives. Raging against legislation that wants to save these kids' lives is because the fun's over. That when you have a baby, fun's over. Life sets in. Now I gotta really live life. I can't just live in this sexual dream anymore. I can't just make all this money and get everything I want through sex anymore. Now I gotta actually work at life. Boo-hoo. And some of them take to it better than others. But deep down, their soul is burning because they're like, dang, I can't have fun anymore. Brittany Renner was on top of the world when she was sleeping with all these athletes and rappers. She was living her best life. Oh yeah, he flew me out to his condo. He flew me out to his mansion and woo woo woo. All these experiences they have with these, and she just got dumped on. She just got pounded and dropped off. You know, I'm sure they gave him. I'm sure they had fun, and she signed her little non-disclosure agreements, and she signed this and she signed that, and you know, so he wouldn't be liable for anything. And yeah, it's all consensual. Sign this, sign that. Talk to my lawyer. Blah blah blah. And then he set her up in the penthouse. He set her up in the extra mansion next to the main mansion, right? I mean, what do you think these celebrities are doing? You think they're just out planting rose gardens? No. They're banging. They have a continuous conveyor belt of models that they're sleeping with. That's what these guys, I mean, not all of them, obviously not all of them, but you can rest assured if they're famous and rich and they're making their money, they're making their millions, and they're a household name in entertainment or sports or whatever, what do you think they're doing? I mean, guys got a sex drive. We love women. We love sex. What do you think if you had that type of power and money and status? What do you think they're doing with it? Right? So this is a woman who's in her transformation phase. This is a woman who's like, oh, I got a kid. Reality sets in. Now, she might have a lot of money from her little NBA fling father who doesn't want to raise the kid, and he's got to pay out of his pocket however much a month. She might have a lot of money from that. But she still has to raise a kid. And yes, that money will help because, single mothers, many single mothers, when they don't have money, they're just ruined. And they're like, give me any man who has a job because they need that yesterday, right? When you have a kid, you realize, oh, everything is expensive. Oh, time is expensive with the kid. I need a guy who can help me not only raise this kid, but give me money, help me financially, da 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 da. So yes, Brittany Renner is sitting more pretty. She got paid off by the devil because she had much influence over these young women. Because this is follow the leader. Put the carrot in front of the horse's face and watch the horse run across town. That's what it is. That's what Satan does. He props up these, it's for men and women, props up these celebrities, these sports stars, these professional hoes like Brittany Renner, and they're like, hey, you can do the same thing. No, you can't. The reason why Brittany Renner and Kim Kardashian was so successful at being a hoe is because Satan gave them that success. Everybody else can't do that. Maybe 1% of all people who try might be able to. But for the most part, there's going to be consequences. For the most part, it's going to ruin your life. This is the difference between Brittany Renner and the average club skank. The average girl at the club trying to luck up and meet a millionaire at the bar. That's the difference, is that the reason why Brittany Renner is famous, the reason why Kim Kardashian is famous, is because Satan made them famous so that they can influence the youth, so that they can influence young women into doing the same thing. It's just a basic strategy. It's marketing. It's just marketing. That's all it is. It's a distraction away from God. It's a distraction away from morals. But it's enticing. It's enticing. Oh, I can just go sleep around and get rich. And now she has to change because she's got a kid. And this is the reality. Let's go on.
That's what you need to do.
That's how date girl.
She said,
right.
girl.
That's how date is.
She's right.
For who?
I'm saying it's like we had literally just talked about this off camera
She looks like Sam Cassell.
when you guys came here from the airport. When we were talking about what's the value system or the point system for a woman who cooks versus a woman who can suck good dick and fuck.
Listen, dick can only be sucked in so many ways.
And you can see it in her face. You can see when a woman is changing. You can see when a woman has to dig deep down and transform herself because of her kids or whatever. And you can tell. And that's the reason why I'm saying it, because I can just tell she's doing some self-work. But again, it's like, it doesn't, and this is what women have to do when they have kids. They got to change. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you will always be a single mom because the daddy didn't love you. And that's always going to be a negative in your kid's life, in your life, for the rest of your life. And that's a sad thing. Let's hear what Andrew Tate says.
I mean, no, let's be serious about this.
You had the Gok 3000.
No, this is actually a serious point, right? This is a very serious point because the Western world has collapsed in real time and it's a failed society. And one of the reasons it's a failed society is because of the over-sexualization, especially of females as a whole. If a woman comes up to me and goes, I'll be the best sex you ever had, I am revolted. I don't want the best sex I've ever had. I want you to be pure and a virgin. You should know what sex is. Cook my or shut up. Don't come and talk to me about...
And this is where women have messed up, is they really think that all it takes to get a guy is give them good sex. It's not. You also have to be a good person. You also have to know how to treat men. You also have to know how to be a good partner. You also have to bring things to the table. You have to work on yourself. And guys need to stop settling for less. So many guys out there sell themselves short. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Men need to stop selling themselves short. You have more power than you think. Women are trying, they have a vested interest into taking you away from reality of your power. Men have power, they just don't realize it because women don't give them the indication that they have any power. Because that's part of the strategy. That's part of the hypergamy strategy, is to make sex such an unattainable thing that it starts to become a rare commodity, when in reality it's not necessarily. It's not. It is in a way, but it's not necessarily, right? What needs to be a more valuable commodity than sex, because again, sex comes with every woman. That's just, it's attached to her body. It's attached to her pelvis, right? That's what comes with, it's standard component to a woman, right? But what else does she bring to the table? What else makes her really special? You don't want to marry a nice ass, and then you got guys out here like, oh man, she's got the nicest ass I've ever seen, I gotta go marry that girl. That's weird, bro. You're selling yourself short. What else does she bring to the table? What about her style? What about her class? What about her intelligence? What about her? Is she a beautiful singer? Is she a good cook? Is she fun? Is she able to have a good? Does she know how to have a good time? Is she a hard worker? Is she a good mother? Is she nurturing? Is she loving? Does she know how to cherish you? Does she know how to give you good gifts? Does she know how to make you feel good? There's so much more to the human experience than sex. I'm not saying sex is not quintessential. It's definitely a cornerstone of any quality relationship. You got to have good sex. It is what it is. But it's attached to them. It never leaves them. It doesn't go anywhere. If anything, it just depreciates. If anything, she just gets looser or more. The more guys she sleeps with, the more damaged her body is. You can just we can tell. There's a sense we get about women. We know when she's a hoe. The more she gets used, the less quality she becomes, the more used up she becomes. But what else does she bring to the table? Does she, does she enjoy jazz? Does she enjoy this kind of music? Are you able to experience a nice rainy day with her? And are you guys soulmates? We used to have this term called soulmates that nobody ever uses anymore. Are you guys soulmates? Meaning, do you guys aligned in your soul? Are you guys like soul? Do you have the same kind of soul? Do you enjoy the same? Are you able to enjoy moments together? That's a relationship, not just sex, not just the physical. That's a cornerstone. That's a part of it.
Sucking dick, vile. It's disgusting. I don't want to hear that.
Can I say something?
I don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
What I want is a woman who makes me look good. No woman who's...
He's right in that, yes, it's a turnoff. It's a turnoff when any woman, seriously, it's one of the biggest turnoffs ever for most guys. When a woman is promiscuous, it's just, I can't think of a bigger turnoff. Besides maybe, she has a really bad attitude. She's kind of like, she's not very smart. Those are turnoffs as well. And guys those should be standard components to guys' turnoffs. That should be most guys' turnoffs. Is she dumb? Is she not that intelligent? Does she have a bad attitude? You need to look at that. You need to look past the fat ass and the big bust. You need to look past all that and be like, what kind of person is she? What's the quality of her character? And all she has to offer is sex, and she's had a lot of sex. That's disgusting. I don't want to date a woman like that. Don't sell yourself short, guys.
Running around talking about sucking can make me look good. So I lose interest completely and utterly, and that's the truth. So what she's saying is completely correct. These are old school things, but it's not about the act. Yes, you can order food, of course. It's about the status that comes with it. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and I agree.
I don't think that's incorrect fully, but I think that he's making that his whole point, and I don't see it. I don't think that that's what men want. He's saying that men want a woman to increase their status. He's saying that men want a woman to make them look good to their friends, etc., kind of thing. And I don't think that's that important. But maybe I have different priorities. I think Tate has priorities where he wants to express himself to the public as if he's ultra successful. And this is who Tate is. This is the type of person he is he wants to. And I'm not saying there's no merit there. I'm not saying there's I'm not saying that there's not this thing in life that status doesn't matter. I think that it does, but status is one of those. Here's the thing: status is I have dual concepts about status. On the one hand, I think that the reason why guys want status is not necessarily so they can have a good life and they enjoy the status in and of itself, because that's a lot of work and it's a lot of headache. Status. Well, the reason why I think guys do status or want status to acquire status is because they want women, because women want status. That's what I think. That on the one hand. And then on the other hand, I think that status it can be a way that people feel better about their life. It can be a way that people feel more self-actualized or like they matter and have self-esteem is when they have high status. I pursued that in high school, and I achieved it in high school by being on the basketball team and having a lot of friends and being invited to a lot of parties and things like that. And to me, I've experienced that, and to me it was very empty. I never really felt respected or loved when I had high status. I always felt that it was it's like a ladder. It's like trying to climb a ladder, and every time you grab another rung or another step of the ladder doesn't go anywhere. Like if you've ever seen those comedies where like a guy tries to climb a ladder and the ladder, it's you know, it's like one of those folding ladders, and he's climbing really fast, and because the ladder's going down and folding or whatever, he doesn't actually go anywhere. That's kind of how I felt. It was like it was fleeting. It was empty. Now, I guess if you got a lot of money and you wear nice suits, and I guess if you have the right type of personality and you go out and people look at you, like, I guess that can make you feel better, but yeah, and it's like, yeah, you can have a good time too. Like you can, you know, there is such a thing where like, you know, if you got money and you go out and you enjoy good food and you enjoy drink and dancing, you can have a really good time and kind of enjoy a community of people. That's possible, but I don't know if that's what he's talking about. I don't know if that's the kind of status necessarily. Status is such a kind of subtly, it's like a mirage. It's like you think that that's what you want to be until you get there, and then you're like, oh, these people don't really love me, these people don't really respect me, I'm not really having a good time. Yes, maybe this is an enjoyable restaurant, but to me it's dead. I was actually in a restaurant 2 weeks ago. It was super nice. This Asian restaurant. It was so nice, but it was just dead. You know, it was lifeless, and I didn't. Even though I enjoyed, I don't even know if I enjoyed. It's like even though it was super nice, like I was being in there, I just didn't really even enjoy the environment. And it's like that's how I look at status. Is it's like it looks good from the outside, but then when you get there, you're like, oh, this is empty. I'd rather have a memorable moment with somebody or enjoy something. And it's like, you know, when people are out dancing together and you got friends who really enjoy each other and there's laughter, and there can be a type of enjoyment in that. But I don't know if that's necessarily status. So what he's talking about, really, it seems to me, is part of his ego, which is actually his part of his ego, which is actually what I think Tate is really driven by, is really his ego, even though he tries to offset it with being moral and his religious pursuits. Until you find Jesus, a lot of it's just outward, because you're just lost. Until you really get born again and get saved, you're really just performing, and it's all for yourself. It's all for, at best it's idealism. At best, someone like Jordan Peterson is a very idealistic. Idealism is where a lot of it ends up and stays. It stays in idealism. It doesn't come into true fruitfulness or true joy or true, until you really set things in order. And how to set things in order is you have to find God and really connect to your source. In my experience and from what I think. I mean, it's not that you can't have enjoyment. There can be. Yeah, you can enjoy being rich and everybody. You think everybody loves you, but really they're just enamored with your status or your wealth or whatever. And it's not really you. You're just an entity. It's not you. When you strip all of that away, and when you strip all of that pursuit and that ambition and even those achievements, when you strip all that away, then you really get to the core of who you are. And if you really want to know who you are and have a real self-esteem, you have to strip all that away, because you have to be nothing. You have to experience what it's like to have nothing before you can really be your true self. It's a weird thing. It's just a weird experience, because once you strip all that away and you're just yourself, you're like, okay, now I know what it feels like to have pain. Now I know what it feels like to work through that pain. Now I know what it feels like to just be who I really am and not have to perform for people. Once you live a life of performing for people for status, you really sell your soul. You sell who you are. You lose your identity, and you become very empty. And I'm not saying, I don't know per se if that's really how Andrew Tate feels, but I do think he plays a character. I do think that he's winning outwardly. He might have a lot of money. He might have a lot of people who claim, who think that they respect him, although they're really just enamored with his intelligence. He's very intelligent. He's very well spoken. I don't know if people, how much they really respect and love Andrew Tate. Because what humans really need is they need love, they need understanding, they need respect, they need good communication. They need reciprocal experiences with people. I don't think you can have that when you prop yourself up as a kind of intellectual messiah, and you know, not to judge Andrew Tate, but he doesn't follow the tenets that he preaches, you know, necessarily, or maybe he does in his own way. But we'll get into more of that as we go on. Let's go on.
But I'm just saying that's how men look at like your past, is like basically like you've given it for free.
Exactly. I like her. I like pearly things. I like her. You know, maybe she's one of these pick me girls. Maybe she maybe she's a profiteer, but I do believe that she believes what she says, and I do believe she's on point and she's right on, and she's maybe making money off it, whatever. But I do believe that she makes good points. She knows what men want. She understands the male psychology, and she understands the female psychology, and she's able to moralize things and cut straight to the truth, which is that, yeah, guys don't want used up women. And this is Brittany Renner's past.
Want to know my body count. I don't know why in like 2018 that's any of your business or why it matters. But 24.
Why according to the CS.
Okay, so she said 24, which is, again, we can multiply by 3 at least, or maybe more. And I think she's 26 years old there. So 2018 is 4 years ago. I think she's 30 now, so she's about 26 years old there. So 24 guys at 26, that's a bit low. Normally, women, by the time they're 26, are in the triple digits these days. That's what I think. From my experience and from just common sense. But it varies. I mean, I wouldn't not believe it, but her personality and her the type of woman she is, it's hard to say. It might be true.
Cheek slaying investigation. What she's trying to say is her body count is around
somewhere between 700 billion and a trillion 300 million.
11 athletes. Woo! 5 entertainers. Woo! 8.
Wow, it's crazy that so she's 11 athletes. These are professional athletes. 5 entertainers, meaning guys who are musicians or actors. And then she said 8. She's gonna say 8 normal guys, and she's bragging about this. This is a subculture of women who really believe that you can sleep your way into fame, and she's actually bragging. This is actually her audition tape for that role. This is what do they call it? There's a word for it. Name dropping, essentially. It's like, oh yeah, I was hanging out with Steve Jobs the other day, or oh, I was hanging out with Tom Brady the other day. Like you say that to make yourself look like you have higher status than you do. So what she's saying here is, oh, I'm not just one of these little hoes out here. I can bang athletes, and I've got the numbers. I know how many athletes I've banged. I can bang entertainers. I know how many entertainers I've banged. And what's twisted is that you're still bragging about having sex, and anybody who's got morals, and any guy is going to look at you and they're going to be like, whoa, no, and she knows, look at that face. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's got her abs out. She's in these leggings. And if you go to her Twitter, her Instagram, or whatever, she's all sexified, and she's selling herself. And this is part of selling herself. She knows that guys are going to judge her for this. She knows this is going to go down into the annals of history, right? She knows it's going to go down into history that she slept her way to the top. That's what that face says. I know I'm selling my purity. I know I'm telling the truth on myself, which is going to mar my morality for the rest of my life, but it's worth it to me because of the fame that I'm going to get. It's worth it to me because I'm going to go viral and become rich. Has she? Kind of seems like it. She bagged an athlete, and now everybody knows her name. Everybody knows who she is. Does everybody respect her? No. But there's an old saying that says, bad publicity is good publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. Meaning, as long as you're in people's minds, as long as people are saying your name, as long as you're viral and floating around out there and people know who you are and you're famous, it's all good. Somehow you're going to turn a profit on that. Somehow you're going to turn that into a life for yourself. And it's just another way that people get rich. It's just another way that people make a living. And that's what she's doing. Look at that face. It says it all.
Regular guys. I've only regular guys since I've been Instagram famous because a lot of y'all run too much. I don't want to be sending.
They want to be famous, and now she's trying to act like, oh, I'm above it. That's not what I really want. And all this stuff. That's what she really wants. She really just wants to be famous, and she wants to be rich, and she wants to use her sexuality to get there. That's what she wants.
Do a video 1 minute, the next minute I see me spread eagle on the timeline playing with. In my experience, the worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really.
So she look at the twisted, the twisted nature of what she's talking about. So on the one hand, she's admitting to being highly promiscuous. She's admitting to be a hoe, but yet she's also saying, oh, even though I'm a hoe, I have boundaries. I don't want my body to be out there. I'm not that much of a hoe where you can just see my naked pictures. It's like, well, you just told us you were a hoe. We don't need to see. We know what naked women look like. There's zillions of porn videos out there. We don't care. You know what I mean? But it's like the twistedness of what she's saying is like, well, even though I admitted to be a hoe and sleeping, you know, social climber, sleeping my way to the top, I'm not as much of a hoe where anybody can just see me naked. I have standards. I have boundaries. Like, wow, you know, that's a twisted concept right there.
So if y'all really want to try to come up
So what, are we supposed to respect you for that? I mean, it's like twisted.
a check off a man, I mean, you could just, they're really done.
And that's what she did.
He needs some milk.
That's what she did. She had a kid
In
with
the
a guy.
history of humanity, across any
Had a kid with a dumb athlete, and now he's got to pay alimony. And however much is that, $250,000 a month? However much this man makes, I mean, that is insane. And also, that's just highway robbery. That's just. There's not a word for that. How evil and sick that is. And look at this woman. Look at her dark energy. And I guess maybe she wants to. Or at least she's propping herself up like she's making a change. But in reality, your soul, when you do something like that, your soul takes a hit. I don't know, man. You know, it's a fine line. Like, I don't want to be sitting here judging her or judging people. And I've done messed up things. You know, I'm a sinner. You know, but it's like nobody's perfect. But at the same time, it's like you're supposed to be a good mother. You know, you're supposed to be a good wife. That's what you're. You know, and guys shouldn't go out and sleep around either. You're supposed to be a good husband. You're supposed to be a good father. Anyway, let's listen to Tate.
culture, any book, any story, any fable, there has never been across the history of humanity any respect put on the name of a promiscuous female ever.
That's true.
Ever. You name the biggest conquerors that you can possibly name from history. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, all of them. They all had 100 wives, bunch of children, Big G conquered the...
Yeah, but you're a weirdo if you uplift those guys. You're a weirdo if you idolize Genghis Khan. You're a weirdo if you idolize Alexander the Great. You know, that's kind of autistic. Like, and people like Andrew Tate probably do idolize them. Oh, I just want to conquer. I want to be on top at any means. I want to. It's weird energy, man. Like, that's not human. That's not normal. Like those guys are not normal. Like that's nothing to aspire to. To be a murderous conqueror, like that's nothing to aspire to.
World normal. That is normal evolutionary biology. That's how men.
No, it's not. It's not normal. This is where I disagree with Tate. No, it's not. It's not normal for a guy to have a bunch of kids from a bunch of different women because, first of all, it kills your point. It dismantles your point that it's wrong for women to do that if men do that because it's the same effect. It's the same effect because a guy can't father unless he's extremely rich, and then he can have like all his wives at his home, at his mansion or something, maybe. But what kind of mess would that be? Like, what kind of... Would you raise quality kids that way? I don't think so, man. That's not normal. That's not human. So that's a bad argument on it. And this is something have always very much disagreed with Tate on is, no, polygamy is not normal. Or yeah, polygamy. For a man to have a bunch of different wives. That's not normal, dude. Sorry to say.
Designed to be. There's never been a single female who's been.
No, we're not designed to do that. I don't believe that we're designed to do that. If there is something in our biology, it's a fallen biology. It's an animalistic biology. I think humans are better than that.
celebrated for promiscuity ever in history. It's always been frowned upon and disgusting. So yes, we are completely and utterly different. Yes, it's different if a woman cheats on a man, and if a man is at a complete top level of his life and ticks every single box, and if he decides to be loyal, which some do, and I can be loyal, and I have been loyal, but there's also times in my life where I don't want to be, and get a new girlfriend every single day of the week, I can do that, and I can decide to do that. If a woman decides...
No, that is a double standard. That is a double standard. It is different because it's easier for a woman to do that, but it's not. It doesn't mean that it's okay for guys to do it too, necessarily. Not now. When I say yes, guys, you know, when a guy does that, he's celebrated. It's because it's a hard thing to do. I don't celebrate that guy. Well, I don't celebrate guys like that in general, but I don't celebrate those guys because, like, you know, it's anything to be respected. It is, if anything, I'm just like, I acknowledge that guy has something that I don't, or many other guys don't, because we don't have the same access to sexual partners. So maybe he's better looking than us, or he has more money than us, or he has something that attracts a lot of different women. That's all that is. I mean, the concept is actually very simple. And weirdos, you know, who idolize Genghis Khan and idolize Alexander the Great think that that's like what life is all about, is conquering and women. And it's just like, bro, life is to be enjoyed, and it's very difficult to enjoy life when you are constantly being ambitious to conquer something. You know, it's very stressful. It's just like, no, who wants to do that? And so this is why I don't think Andrew Tate is a proper role model for young men. I think he, at best, is a speaker of the truth, a speaker of partial truth. He does cut to the quick on a lot of truthful things, but as far, you know, that men are going through, but he uses it to propel himself to higher status. He uses it as if he's some kind of beacon for good, and no, I don't believe he is, because his message is mixed with this weirdo kind of ambitious, you know, conquering concept that I don't think that's normal. Guys want families. Well, that's normal. Guys should have a family. That's normal. That's love, a loving family, not a harem of women. There's a meme out there that's hilarious, and it sums Andrew Tate up. It's like, oh, don't settle for some mid-woman, G. Go out and become a millionaire and get a townhouse and a mansion and drive a $500,000 car so you can get women who will leave you if you ever lose any of those things. And that's 100% true. Your goal and your ambition to be like a cheek-slaying warrior, to be like a James Bond type guy who sleeps with all these women, is very vain. It's very fleeting, because you have to work. First of all, you have to work super hard to get that kind of wealth and status, because that's how, and that's the hack. That's the biological hack to get a lot of women. But secondly, these women that you get, they're vapid. They're the worst type of women. Zero. I mean, less than zero personality. These women are just products. They're just sex toys. They're just fleshlights. They're literally fleshlights that cry. That's literally what they are. They're fleshlights that cry. Right? They have nothing else. They're just, they sell themselves. These type of women. And it's part of female nature. So I'm not saying you can't get a normal woman too who works at Home Depot or whatever. Like, yeah, it's in their nature. If you're big ball, I mean, actually, you might get rejected by that type of woman, because she might actually have some substance to her. She might actually be like, oh, like, that guy's weird. He thinks because he drives a jet twice a week and spends $1 million a month on watches and cars, that I'm gonna like him. Like, I don't think there's anything interesting about that. Like, at best, these women are just exploiting these men for the perks, which is fly me to Hawaii, fly me to Jamaica, fly me to here, fly me there, I don't know if Jamaica's a good spot to go, but fly me to the Florida Keys or Ibiza or wherever. Like, fly me to Europe or something. You know, that's the perks of dating a rich man, is that you have access to travel and access to luxuries because of his money. And then you're literally selling yourself. That doesn't make you fulfilled as a man. It gets you sex. Okay, it gets you sex, and you're able to maybe hang out in cool locations and experience cool things and fly a helicopter to Japan and fly a helicopter to, you know, Ireland or something, and land in a castle and live in a castle, and fly a helicopter to Hawaii or something, like cool things like that. Like that's great and that's fun. Those are the fun experiences, and maybe that's what fulfills people if they enjoy that, I guess. But that's not. First of all, it's not possible for the average guy. They call it the 1% for a reason. I would say it's less than 1% of all humanity. 1% of 7 billion that's a pretty high number. I don't even think it's 1%. It's probably like 0.01% are rich and famous and are able to live that life every day of their life. But even if you were able to live that life every day of your life, you might be fulfilled, but eventually you'll die. And then what? Then you're going to have to answer to God, right? So logically, that's not a role model. Logically, what he's saying is not viable, and it's not good. It's not good advice. It's really a pathway to hell. He doesn't realize it, but he's an advertiser for Satan. He's an advertiser. He's anti-God. He's a type of antichrist, and he doesn't even realize it. Because if you're selling kids a dream that's going to take their whole life to achieve, or suck up their life in one way or another, what are you? You're a slave master. You're a slave recruiter. You're recruiting slaves for the Matrix. He claims that he's not for the Matrix. He claims he's out of the Matrix because he's financially successful, woo woo woo, but he's actually a proponent of the Matrix. Andrew Tate is an agent of the Matrix. He's an agent of the Matrix. Anyway, let's go on.
To do the same purely because her value is high enough to attract so many males, because she's beautiful, for example. It is completely different. And I'm going to explain to you why it's completely different, so buckle up. It's different. It's different. It's different. Well, I'll tell you why. It is impossible for a female to be promiscuous on a long enough period of time without devaluing herself, because she's people she shouldn't be fucking. There's no way she is sleeping with endless men, and all of them are either high-value men or treating her the way she should be treated. If you find a woman who slept with 50, 100 dudes, she's either dudes which aren't at her level or haven't worked hard enough to try and get the pussy. She was just too drunk to realize.
That sounds correct, but I still don't think so. I think you can find 100 guys in your city who are very high value. I think you can sleep with 300 men in your city who are high value. And this is what I think women actually do. And I think that yes, women might, and yeah, they might eventually, slip up and sleep with a broke guy, or sleep with a, unsuccessful guy, or whatever, once or twice. But I think for the most part, I think this is what women actually do, is they literally just go around in their city looking for the best looking guy who has the most money, and they find that guy. One way or another, or that guy finds them, and they just choose him. They sift through all the crap, all the undesirable guys, and they just ignore them, ghost them, curb them, lie to them, whatever. Ignore their DMs, etc. Right? And they just sift through all the undesirable guys, and they just wait till they get a hot guy, or a guy who's got a lot of money, or a guy who's hot and he has a lot of money, and then they just sleep with that guy. But guess what? That guy is sleeping with all the other women too, because he's hot and he has a lot of money. He has exactly what women want. And so what's he going to do? You think he's going to just settle for some average woman, particularly when she doesn't even have anything to bring to the table? No, he's just going to sleep with that woman and then jump on to the next one. All she has is nice titties. She has youth. She's got nice ass. That's it. And then what's he going to do? He's going to jump onto the next girl who's got youth, nice titties, and nice ass. And this is how women rack up a body count of 200-300 guys. Because I guarantee you you live in a decent-sized city. I guarantee you there's 200 or 300 guys who are rich, who are good-looking, and who sleep with a lot of women. And those are the guys who these women are sleeping with. So I don't agree with Tate's assessment that a lot of those guys are low value. I think he has to say that, because if he said it was devaluing for a woman to sleep with high value guys, then he would kind of make himself look like a hypocrite, because he's sleeping with a lot of women. So then it would make it look like he's sleeping with women who are low value, and he doesn't want to come across as if he's sleeping with women who are low value. But the truth is that these women are not sleeping with bums. These women are not sleeping with average guys. They're not sleeping with broke guys. They're sleeping with the high-value guys of the city, and those high-value guys in the city are sleeping with all the other girls in the city, and that's how hypergamy works. That's how the game works. So it's like and this is proven factually, statistically, scientifically, that the top 10% of guys, 5-10% of guys, the highest value guys, are sleeping with 90% of the women. That's what it is. So his theory, another one of his theories, doesn't make sense.
She's a loser who plays video games, or she's...
It sounds like it makes sense. Now, what he's right about is when a woman sleeps around with any guy, high value or low value, when a woman sleeps around, period, it's devaluing. It devalues her physically because there's a negative impact on her body. You can see it in her skin tone, etc. And it devalues her psychologically and spiritually. And it devalues her socially. It should. And guys can tell. We can tell when a woman slept around.
She who barely texts her back. So either way, she shouldn't be fucking, or a guy who's at the level who doesn't give her the right amount of attention. For a woman to find a guy who's truly on a level, who truly treats her the way she should be treated, that's once every couple years, if that.
He's right about that. He's right about that. Now, he made a great point there. He said whether or not she's sleeping with high value guys or low value guys, she shouldn't be sleeping with either of those guys, because the guy who's really going to give her attention and really going to be high value and really care about her, she doesn't meet that guy very often, and he's right about that. He's very right about that. And this is a problem that modern women have today, is they might be able to sleep around with a lot of guys. They might have a lot of offers from average or low value guys, and they might have fewer offers from high value guys, but they have very little, if any at all, offers of the right kind of guy. So he's very correct in that. I'll give him a lot of credit for what he just said there.
Every week and say, yeah, he's worth pussy. Yeah, he treats me good enough to get my pussy. Da da da. And you know what's funny about the universe? It's actually beautiful about the universe, because it's equal and opposite forces. When you devalue yourself, it's kind of like men can smell it on you. They can just look at it, go, oh. And that's the way it works. So you have to be very careful as a female.
Yep, he's very correct on that. We can tell. We can just tell. And a lot of women today think they're hiding it. And I don't. And a lot of women come across. They really do. Like they come across very nice. Don't let it fool you. Don't let it fool you. And a lot of times, yes, it's easy to spot the hoe. That's true. A lot of times it is very easy to spot the hoe. But nowadays, sometimes it's harder. Like I dated a girl who was like kind of nerdy, and she was reserved, and she was shy. She didn't wear a lot of makeup, if any at all. She wore like sweaters, and she covered herself up. I dated a girl like that for 3 years, and she was the biggest hoe I've ever met. It just came out later, and she was also a covert narcissist. It came out later. You can't judge a book by its cover necessarily. You can, but you can't also. Like you would, which is why I would just say like they're all doing it. Like they're all sleeping around. It just is what it is. That women have a sex drive. Tinder is a thing. They're all on Tinder. The reason why Tinder doesn't work for you is because you're not good looking enough of a man. Point blank, period. Facts. It's just what it is. Most guys are just not desirable physically to most women. It's not how it works. There's always like 1 out of 100 guys who's like, that guy's super hot, and he gets on Tinder and he's banging everyone. That's just what it is, man. And that's the sad reality of hypergamy. It's the sad reality of female nature. Sad reality of what the average guy goes through. And Tate does get that right. He does nail that here. He does talk about that. And he's right about this as well. Guys can tell, what guys can tell. But I would just say this. You should, it's not even whether you can tell or not. You should assume if she's very attractive, she's going to have a lot of sex partners. Sorry. Women want sex. They want sex just like men do. The difference is that they're hypergamous. The difference is that they have a lot of requirements for sex. But they want it just as much as we do physically as far as the pleasure is concerned. It is what it is.
And sit and go, does this man truly deserve the... If you think about it, the answer 99% of the time, especially if you're promiscuous, is no. So when a woman is sleeping around with all these men, she's devaluing herself. She's devaluing herself, and the world knows, God knows, the universe knows.
Correct.
When a man does it, he doesn't devalue himself at all. That's just the way it works.
Can I ask you?
Incorrect. That's wrong. When a man does it, he does it. I don't think that's true. I think a man does devalue himself. I think it's similar. I don't think it's the same, because women are different. They're emotionally based, and men are more rationally based. And so when a woman has sex, it's more subjective. It's more based on her emotion. And I think women are more fragile. There is some truth that men can sleep around, and it's not the same effect. There is truth to that, and that is true. And it's not the same thing. But I do think that there is consequences for men, and what a lot of times happens is men get attached to a woman. There is such a thing as a soul tie. Men get psychologically attached, to, and men get emotionally attached to. It's just we're not as emotional as women. And I do think it hurts our body as well, just like it hurts women's bodies. So I don't believe in that double standard. I don't think Tate's right there. I can't agree with that. But it's not the same. It's a lot worse for women, and it's easier for men. I will say that.
A question. Wait, answer 1 second. Sir, may I ask you a question? What would you say if a woman now is married to 2 men?
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Yeah, to the no.
Haram.
Why?
No, I'll tell you why. Let's talk about this. What is the difference between a man, let's say me, I have 4 wives, right? What's the difference between a man having 4 wives?
Polygamy is just not godly. It's just not. And you could argue and say, oh, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they had multiple wives and woo woo woo. I don't think that was. Well, first of all, they didn't have multiple wives. I think one of them did. But they had concubines, not wives. Concubine is different. Concubine's almost like a maid servant who's also a hoe that you sleep with, or not. I shouldn't say hoe, but she's also, you sleep with her or whatever. But that's not God either. If you really understand God, you understand that God is the God of the whole Bible, and He says, people shouldn't fornicate, and marriage is monogamous between a man and a woman. That's all in the Bible. So monogamy is not natural order, and it doesn't make a lot of sense either when you really think about it. Oh, you've got 2 dads, or excuse me, you got two moms, or it's just weird when a kid. It's not right, and I think he's saying that because in the Middle Eastern culture, particularly because of Abraham. I mean, people don't know this, but Islam is the people of Islam and the Middle East are descendants of Abraham, just like the Jews are descendants of Abraham, because people don't read the Bible. In Genesis, actually, Ishmael was the son of Abraham from one of his concubines, Hagar. And Sarah, who was Abraham's wife, was old, and God said, I'm going to, I'm going to give Sarah a son. She's going to bear a son. And he's going to be the father of multitudes. He's going to be the father of the nation of Israel, who became Isaac, who was Isaac, who begot Jacob, who begot the 12 tribes of Israel. If you actually read the Bible, read the Old Testament, the book of Genesis. But because Sarah was old, Sarah actually told Abraham to go into Hagar, who was one of his concubines, and sleep with her and have a child, so that they could fulfill God's wishes. And there's a big principle here of waiting on God's timing, and not trying to force God's timing, and not trying to use human endeavor or human intent or human power, the natural human means, in order to gain God's goal. And there's a big lesson there. But the result of that was catastrophic. The result of Ishmael is the father of all of the Islam and Middle Eastern religion, which is very much against the Jewish religion and the Christian religion. And that's how it was when the baby came out. When Ishmael came out, actually God came in shortly after that, and Sarah bore a son. She was too old. She thought she was too old, but she bore a son, and his name was Isaac. And Ishmael was persecuting Isaac in their little family tribe or whatever, and Ishmael and Hagar were sent out. They were kicked out because Ishmael was fighting for dominance or whatever with Isaac. And Isaac was God's choice. Isaac was what God wanted. Isaac was going to be the father of Jacob, who was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, who populated God's called out and chosen and separated people, which is the Israelites, who became the Jews or whatever. So the history there is that polygamy is not a positive thing. Even though that happened, people don't realize this, but a lot of the conflict in the Middle East is a direct. Not a lot of it. All of it is a direct result of that polygamous situation between Abraham and Sarah and his concubine Hagar. So don't think that, oh, it's okay for guys to have multiple wives. It's okay for guys to, you know, like what Nick Cannon's doing now. He's got like, what, 5 or 6 different baby moms. That is not good morally, and that's not good for your children, and that's really chaotic, and I feel sorry for those kids. It's not good. So Andrew Tate is fully wrong. He's absolutely wrong in this example. No, it's not okay for men to be polygamous. It's not okay for men to be promiscuous. No, it's not okay for men to sleep around. There's consequences. Yes, the effect might be slightly different. It might be slightly easier for men to do it, but it's not okay. It's not okay.
A woman having 4 men.
You can impregnate the 4 wives at the same time.
You can impregnate the 4 wives at the same time, and we know who the parents are, right? So
Yes.
let's say you had 4 pregnancies, you'd know who the mother is, because she's carrying the baby, and you know who the dad is, top G. If you had a woman with 4 men, and she gets pregnant, who's the parents?
What about if...
But no, I'm asking. Do
Okay,
you know?
I ask, what if they're different races?
Answer the question.
You don't
Answer
know.
the question.
You don't know. Now, modern science can come along and maybe fix that for you, but that doesn't mean it's not...
I get the point that he's making, and it's kind of a correct point, is that why would a man want to raise another man's child? How could a man ensure and know that the child from the woman is actually his if she's sleeping around with other men? And well, obviously, you know, modern science, you can just go get a blood test and they can figure that out very quickly. But the point is that men don't want to raise other men's children, whereas with women it's different maybe, but it's still not a solid point. I get his point. I get what he's saying, is that meaning what he means is that you ensure that the child is yours. And there is, I think I read some statistic like pretty high, maybe even 10% of all kids in the world are actually not the child of their biological father that they think are their biological father, and the biological father doesn't even know that. Meaning, there's women out here who had affairs, got pregnant, and told the man that they were married to that they're pregnant with that man's child, when really it's the child of the guy they were having an affair with, and the guy who they're married to raised the child as if that child was actually his, which is bananas to think about. But apparently there's, I don't know if it's 1 out of 10 or 10%. It's a pretty high statistic. You can Google that, but that's crazy to think about. So there is some merit to what he's saying, but it's not fully correct the way that he's saying it.
Wrong in the eyes of God. The idea of having a family, the idea of a child being born, one of the baselines for a new life to come onto this planet is for at least to understand who the 2 people who made it are, at least. If you have a woman fucking 4 dudes, you don't even know who got her pregnant.
So may I just say...
Disgusting. Wait.
That's a fact.
Have you seen the twins that had 2 different...
Not a very good point, though. Not a point to rest your hat at. To rest your hat on. It's still not a very good point. It's like, you can still tell. I mean, you can still, like, does the kid look like you? Does it, you know, like, you can get a blood test. It's not that hard in today's society. Now, past societies, like, yeah, that'd be a big problem. So so from that aspect, I get it. From like a historical biological aspect, it totally makes sense that guys would not want women to, and it's just, and that could be why subconsciously in our inner being we despise and it's very, we feel it's despicable for women to sleep around, because it ensures, for men it's very much an aversion where we're like, yeah, that we don't know if that's going to be our kid, or this woman could be out cheating on me and we wouldn't even know. I think deep down a lot of it subconsciously for men is that we want a loyal woman, and if she's sleeping around a lot, there's a good chance she could cheat on us. And with all this sickness today, a lot of guys don't even care, forget all this polygamy crap or polyamory, all this nonsense, open relationships. It's just sickness.
dads?
Oh yeah, I saw that. May I just say something then? So if that is the case, yeah, if the one thing that you're meant to have is you, at least you know who the 2 people that put that child on earth are, then that's why promiscuity for men is also a problem, because they get women pregnant, sometimes they don't even know they have children. That's haram, no? That's
actually a good point. That's actually a solid point. She's correct. It's not okay for women to have random kids with random women. It's the same effect. You get single parent kids. You get kids growing up in broken homes. So she's totally correct, and she actually exposes Tate right here. So let's listen to what he says.
No, it's completely different. It's different because you have to understand, I'm talking about humans. You look at humans from a societal perspective, but society has changed, right? So let's say 200-300 years ago, if a woman got pregnant, she needed a man to survive. If
Yeah, no, I mean, it's still the same problem, right? The problem is that if a man goes out and gets a bunch of women pregnant, those kids are still going to be raised without a father, and so now he's trying to take it back, and I get what he's saying, and it's true. The guy doesn't want to invest in a woman that he doesn't know is his kid. But it should be the same for a woman. A woman should want to invest in a guy that she knows is going to stick around and raise the kid. Not just have the resources, but he has to stick around. But it's just that today's so messed up that a woman can get pregnant and the state will force him to pay. And definitely women take advantage of that. You got Brittany Renner sitting right there who took advantage of that.
that man didn't take care of her during pregnancy, she was going to die. She couldn't work a job, she couldn't hunt, couldn't fish, whatever, right? A woman literally needed that man for survival. So if you were to come to me and say I'm pregnant, but you've been by 4 different dudes, I'd be like, who says it's mine? Why am I looking after you? None of them want to look after her. She will literally perish. This is why in most of the world today, still today, virginity is so coveted, and throughout all of history it's been so coveted.
He makes a point, but again, we got blood tests, right?
Because that's the only way to ensure paternity. She's a virgin, I know that's my baby. She ain't a virgin, prove it's mine. Outside of this modern science bullshit.
Modern science bullshit? No, that's great. I want to know if a kid's mine. In fact, I saw a study recently about a guy who married a woman, and they were married for like 5 years, and then they had a kid, and he made her take a blood test. I would do the same. Like, you don't know what she's doing at the office. You don't know what she's doing behind your back. You know, and you would think if you marry somebody, you trust them, and yeah, it's a part of it, but you never can be too safe. Like, I kind of applauded that guy. It's like, yeah, you never know, man, until you test it.
Shaitan, the devil we have here in the West, in most of the world today, without virginity or at least a low body count or at least anti-promiscuity, you can't tell that that's your baby. So it's a completely different thing. You're looking at the idea.
Yeah, but how can you tell she's not promiscuous? How can you tell she doesn't have a sordid past? How can you tell that she's really a virgin? You can't. Which is why MGTOW was a thing, which is why the red pill is a thing, because we're just like, they're all like that. Just assume that she's like that. If she's attractive and she's a modern woman, she's got a high body count. It just is what it is, and that's why a lot of guys, they're single. That's a lot of the big reason I'm single. I'm not out here trying to get a wife, because they're all used. It's not that I don't want love. It's not that I don't want companionship. It's not that I don't want a wife per se. It's that, how am I going to find a quality one? You know, God has to give me one, and she's probably still going to have a past. I've got a past now at this point, but there was a time when I was 18 and I didn't have a past. I think I might have even still been a virgin at 18. I think I lost my virginity the summer I turned 18. Pretty sure I did. Anyway, it's not beside the point, because, you know, it's not that like, oh, a guy having a high notch count is like some kind of like quality achievement or something. But the point is that I was innocent, and the point is that I wanted love, and women didn't want me because of hypergamy. Women didn't want me because I wasn't a bad boy. Women didn't want me because I couldn't compete with the college guys who were driving around in Ford Bronco cars, and I was driving a Toyota Taurus, or I was taking the bus when I was 17, 18. You know, I couldn't compete with the college guys. And that's when I learned about female. That's when I took the, you know, that's when I first started being force-fed the red pill. Was that, oh, this isn't Hollywood. This isn't Disney. These women aren't just, I'm falling in love with me. I thought that's what it was. I literally thought that's what it was going to be like. Like, oh, I was just going to meet the love of my life. It's going to be rainbows and puppy dogs and hearts and kisses and love letters and woo, woo, woo. And it wasn't. It wasn't like that. I wasn't cute enough. I wasn't good looking enough. I wasn't cool enough. I didn't have high enough status, although I did have status, and women were interested in me somewhat, or, you know, I should say high school girls were interested in me somewhat, because I was on the basketball team, but I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know how to capitalize on it. Didn't know what to do with it. Because I was afraid of women. I was afraid of girls. I was nervous and scared around them. I had no game. I had no confidence, because they intimidated me, because I didn't know how to talk to them, and they were at 18. A girl she's got all her hypergamy defenses up. She's gonna weed it out if you're not confident. Later on, I learned how to be confident, but then I didn't have the money, or then I didn't have the bad boy looks, or I didn't have this or that, and then you learn, oh, this is female nature. Oh, okay. Right? And by that time, it's like, what, I'm 26 when I fully learn the red pill, or I'm 30 when I fully, learn the red pill. Like, it's too late. It's like, no, I was 18, and I wanted love. I wanted a sweetheart. I wanted a cute woman to call my wife, and it didn't happen because of female hypergamy. I didn't know female nature, but I wanted that at that young age, and so should we, and it's like that would be ideal. But now we got all this crap that we're dealing with, all this sickness out here in the world. The reason why there's a podcast, a panel here with these people, is because of that. And look at this woman, used up, right? Struck it rich. Is she really happy? I don't know. Is she really fulfilled? I don't know. And then you got this guy who's this embodiment of this idealized, successful man that all the women want. Woo, 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 right? Harping and preaching about how men should have multiple women and da-da-da-da. This nonsense. Even though he at times pretends that, oh yeah, the traditional values, like he's just a mixed up dude. And in his personal life, what's he do? He sleeps with supermodels all day and drives $1 million cars. It's bonkers. The world is bonkers. The world is sick. People need God. I don't know. That's the solution.
A woman being pregnant and coming to a group of men and saying, one of you has to take care of me and put up with me when I'm fat and moody and annoying and I need my bills paid. And all the men are going to sit there and go, no, fuck no.
I mean, he's got a point there. It's not...
Hey, Square.
I am not a square.
I think we should invite Greg this weekend.
What's this weekend?
These people are hippies, rebels against old-fashioned authority.
Wow.
These kids need help.
What they need is a bath.
You're passing judgment on people you know nothing about. And maybe that's why your church is so empty.
When God walks in here, brings me a hippie, I'll ask him what it's all about. Because I do not understand.
Wow.
This house has a very good vibe.
Wow.
There is an entire generation searching.
Slow down, man, slow down.
Just in all the wrong places. If you want to reach my people, you need to speak to them in a language they understand.
If I bring them in, I'm going to lose my job.
We can only walk through doors open to us. In your church, that's a door that's shut.
Wow, let's talk about this for a second. First of all, wow, what timing, right? Exactly what we're talking about. That generation, 1960s, is what ruined everything. The free love generation ruined women. Radical feminists, second wave radical feminism came in, ruined women. Divorce doubled in that decade from 60 to 70, and from 70 to 80, it became 50% of marriages. Free love, yeah. Look what that did. Look what good that did the world. Divorce rampant, broken homes, right? And promiscuity, the removal of social stigma. And now we got this watered down message, which is that, oh, acceptance and love. And this is where you get these churches today that compromise the gospel, compromise Jesus, compromise what the Bible says, right? And it's not that, and how they do that is they paint righteous people, Christians, as boring and lame, and you're not hip, you're not cool like us, and this is why you got Justin Bieber going to this church home or whatever where it's got all this rock music, and like, oh, we're reaching people through rock music and and it's like, that's not what God is. God is the Spirit. God is a spirit, What is John chapter 4, verse 24? God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truthfulness, right? It doesn't say worship in modern rock music. And you might have these people be like, oh, well, you can worship God through any means. And it's like, no, not necessarily. It says right there, it says the Spirit. Those who worship must worship in spirit. Are you really in your spirit when you're singing a rock song? Are you really in your spirit when you're compromising the integrity of your church by allowing certain elements in, by mixing your church with the world, by mixing the purity of your church with the world? I don't think so, man. I don't think you're in your spirit. I don't think God honors that. God said, "Come out from her, my people." When he's talking about the Jews, he said, "Come out from the world, come out from Babylon, come out from the satanic world system, come out from the influence of the satanic world." And what this movie's trying to do so far, in this little minute that I've watched this advert, is say, oh no, it's okay to compromise. That's how you'll reach people. You know what? I dated a girl once. Again, I'm not perfect. You know, I got my past. You know, but I didn't start out that way. Like I said, I'm not saying, even if I did start out that way, I still wouldn't claim that I was perfect or not perfect. But I did want love when I was 18. I said that earlier. But never happened. And there was a point in my life where I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go out and date and you know, get sex. Because I'm not getting it at home. I need it. I'm a man. I got physical needs. God didn't give me a wife for whatever reason. I'm going to go get it. And I went out and got it. And I also got a lot of pain along with it. But one of the times I dated a girl, pain and consequences. And I know about it firsthand. So I'm not just blowing smoke. I know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I dated a girl. And she was in the same church that the pastor in Kirkland, Washington, close to Seattle. The pastor's name is Judah Smith. He was a pastor. He was a youth pastor, I believe. And he was a youth pastor. And he was on TV, started as a youth pastor on TV. And this is a rich area. And I think now Judah Smith is in Los Angeles, which is how he hooked up with Justin Bieber. But anyway, he had this cool hair. Like he looked like, what's the guy from, he looked like Keith Urban. How Keith Urban used to have his hair all to the side. And I think his hair was even dyed. I'm not sure, but maybe it wasn't, but he had this cool young vibe about him, and like he was like, oh, I'm appealing to young people because I'm cool and this, that, and the third. Well, I actually went to that church a couple times, and I did an altar call there once. I was working at Subway, and this isn't how I first came to God because I was born into a church, but it was how it was one of the processes of my coming back to God, and it was just kind of along the road of because I was already coming back before this happened, but I was 18, 19, and I was working at Subway, and I had these cool friends named Kenny. There's my friend Kenny, and then Tim. Tim is the one who got me the job because he worked at the apartment that I was living in. Or he lived in the apartment that I was living in. I was checking the mail one time, and he was working at Subway, and I just asked him, I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? Because I needed a job. And the Subway, that sounded cool, and it was right across the street. And he's like, yeah, come on over. And he liked me, and they liked me right away. They thought I was cool. Got the job, working at Subway, slanging sandwiches, and it was a fun job. Actually, it was a fun job. Had a good time. They gave me a free sandwich every day. Took home a foot-long sandwich. It was good. It was good times. And this guy came in one time, and I think he had a couple friends with him. He had this kind of glow about him, kind of a vibe about him. And I was like, oh, that's kind of something about this guy. And he started talking about Jesus. He's like, yeah, I got saved one time, and I remember praying to God the night before and then waking up in the morning, and it was like everything was new. And that's true. That's a good testimony. That is true. I believe that happened to me. When I became saved, it changed everything. It changed my inner life. It changed my outlook. Changed how I viewed the world. Changed how I experienced the world and enjoyed the world. Changed my thought process. Changed a lot of my values. That does happen. So it was a good testimony, and it was a strong testimony. Because of that testimony, I went with him to this church, and I think it was called the City Church at the time. Now they call it Church Home, I think, Church Home. And you can Google it. It's in Kirkland. But it used to be called the City Church of Kirkland. Not to be confused with the local churches, which is where I grew up in. The local churches of the city. You know, the church in Seattle, the church in Spokane. Okay. So, there's a difference there. But we went to this place. It was altar call. And there's a lot of singing, and there was power there. There was power of the Holy Spirit, but there was also a lot of soulical power, and there was a lot of fervor, a lot of fervor, and it was worldly. You know, like when you go to a concert, when you go to like a comedy show, there's a kind of air. There's a kind of fervor in the air, an excitement in the air. And that's what it was kind of like. But I do believe the Holy Spirit was there. I do believe the Lord was there. I do believe Jesus was there. He was with them. And I do believe they prayed. And there was real salvation happening. And I went and did an altar call. And then they did some weird stuff. And then after the altar call, they were like, oh yeah, I think like maybe 8 or 10 people came down and did an altar call. And I liked it. I thought it was cool. I felt like, yeah, this is, the Lord. I want to accept the Lord, because they had a strong message. He was a good speaker, and he was talking about salvation. And he was compelling, and he was influencing. And I did it. And I accepted Jesus, even though I had been baptized when I was 5, and I'd grown up in the church and read the Bible. And I was kind of probably already saved by that point. When you're reading the Bible, it's hard. It's hard not to get saved if you're really reading it with the right heart. Anyway, I was coming back to God. I was in the process of coming back to God. And then they did some weird stuff where they were like, everybody who did the altar call, come back in this back room. And they took us back in this back room. And they were like, okay, what's your name? Put my name on a piece of paper and da-da-da. I think they called me later on too, or something like that, which is fine, which is whatever. But then they were like, you got to speak in tongues so that we know it's real that you got saved, or something like that. And I was just like, what? Where does it say that in the Bible? And my friend Tim, because it was me, Kenny, and Tim, and we all went down and did it. And we liked it for a second. And I think we even went to a couple of their meetings after that, like 2, maybe 2. And then it kind of ended. But Tim was a missionary at one point, I think. And he knew about the Bible a little bit. But I always kind of feel sorry for Tim for something that I won't talk about. He had kind of a harder time later on in life, I think. Sometimes I wonder whatever happened to him. But anyway, when they asked us to speak in tongues, Tim was like, oh, that's weird. He was just like, that's weird. I don't want to do that. And I was like, let's just do it and get it over with. So we did it and got it over with, and it was cool. I mean, it was fine. I wouldn't say it's cool, but it was weird, definitely. But the reason why I say all that is because I know what type of church this is. And like these type of modern churches where like they're all about entertainment, prosperity gospel, all about, we're going to reach people by saying God is good. And God is good, but a lot of what they do is mixture. A lot of what they do is reaching people in a worldly way, which seems very appealing to a lot of people, and it can be. But the problem is that you compromise the integrity of what God is by sort of, when you do that kind of appeal, a lot of times you compromise God's values, God's integrities. And then also modern churches today just don't know, they don't really know the Spirit. They don't know God's goal. They don't know really how to touch Christ. They don't know how to enjoy Christ and live Christ. And so a lot of times that they're just, it's an exercise in the soul. It's an exercise of the soul. You go to a concert, it's just, I'm a soul man, like there's a type of exercise of the soul, like an enjoyment of the soul. Oh yeah, we're in the soul. And that's all I ever got from these kind of churches. It's just a soul. But when you really touch the Spirit, Christ as the Spirit, and you go to a church that really has the Spirit, it's a different thing. It really is a different thing. So when I watch something like this, it's like, whoa, this is just Satan really duping people, because not only is he talking about like, oh yeah, all these people are lost in this generation, which is true. Yes, it's true. And I talk about that on my channel a great deal, that the 60s were a lost generation, in the sense that it was a rebellion against traditional values. It was a rebellion against peaceful values. It was a rebellion against, and the only argument they had was that like, oh, okay, our parents are kind of racist. And that was true. There's a lot of racism then. Not true for the whole part, but it was partially true. There's a lot of latent racism and stuff like that. But it's not a reason to throw off family values, to throw off monogamy, to throw off raising quality kids, to throw off hard work and things like that. The merit of working hard. And of course, Satan doubled down and ruined the economy when women joined the workforce, and the whole one income household disappeared, and that's all kinds of problems today, causing all kinds of problems today. So you have that juxtaposition along with, oh, now we need to be nice, and I need to go, Kelsey Grammer, I need to go soul searching. I need to reach these hippies so that they can get Christ. And it's like, yeah, people need to get Christ, but it's like, anyway, I think you get my point. Let's watch the rest of this.
You probably know noticed we have some guests here today. I'd like you to meet my new friends. Welcome.
They don't belong here. Half of them aren't even wearing shoes. They're staining the new shag carpet.
They need our help. If you feel like you're misunderstood and judged, you will find forgiveness and freedom right here.
That was awesome.
Now that door is open any time of day. And if there are some who don't like that, well then that door works both ways.
All right, Pastor, let's begin.
I was almost done with this, but then you did what nobody else would even dare.
This thing that we found, I feel like I belong. You're gonna need a bigger church.
Yeah, and then you get into the whole commercialization of church and then selling God for profit, right? All kinds of stuff comes in, and it's like, it sounds good, it starts off kind of good. We're like, oh yeah, we're accepting and loving, and that's true. God is accepting and loving, and he always is. But, you know, at the same time, like, there's requirements, and I mean, there's goals as far as requirements goes. Like, you should, you know, leave sin, leave the world. God did say this. This is clear in the Bible. And we shouldn't judge. That is also true. That's also in the Bible. It's not good to judge. And I would agree with that, you know. But God wants a pure church. He wants a pure expression. And when you mix marketing elements of the world, and there's just a subtle, you know, maybe this is a feel-good movie, and maybe it's nice, and maybe it'll bring some people to Christ, you know, because, you know, also in my story, I mean, I did come to Christ. There was a compelling Holy Spirit presence there at that city church. Now it's called the church home, and I did do an altar call, and that's good. But like I said, I did date this one girl who said she used to go to that church, and then eventually she became kind of rotten. And it's like, well, what's the long game? What's the long-term fruit? Does your church really have Christ in the long run, or is it just some kind of entertainment, soulical fervor that dissipates when the excitement dies down? You know, a lot of times people came to Christ. You know, if you look at the Gospels, they came to Christ initially, and then they eventually left because they didn't want to pay the price for following Christ, or they didn't really love Christ himself, or they didn't really, you know, want to base their whole life around Christianity. They wanted other things. They wanted this, that, or they wanted, you know, it's a weird thing. And there's a metaphor in the Bible that talks about the sower went out to seed, and there was different types of soil, and some soil was hard and rocky, and some soil was shallow, and then some soil was deep, and the seed took root. And what that soil represents is our heart. A lot of times our heart is filled with other things, or it wants other things, or it's just not very deep. It doesn't really want to love God or open up to God, and that's a tough thing. You gotta dig your soil. You gotta dig out the rocks, and you gotta cultivate the soil, and you gotta learn how to acquire the taste of loving God, of following Christ, and enjoying Jesus. And a lot of what Christianity does is it muddies up Christ. It kind of really takes the person of Christ out of it, and it turns Christ into like a circus. It turns Christ into like a show. It turns church into like just a nice message, you know. And I don't like pastors either. There's no such thing as a pastor in the Bible. That wasn't how the churches functioned in the Bible. There was no pastors. You know, the clergy laity system, right? The clergy laity system. It's an evil system where there's an elite group of speakers and priests or whatever, and then there's the regular people, and the regular people don't go to God. It's only the priests and the speakers who go to God, and it's just like nothing could be more lazy than that. Nothing could be more lazy than that. No, you need to have a personal relationship with God. You need to love God and enjoy God yourself. And then when we come and meet together in our meetings, right, then we exhibit the God that we've enjoyed. Then we enjoy God together, right? And you prophesy. What does it say in 1 Corinthians? I think 1 Corinthians chapter 13, if I'm not mistaken. All can prophesy. All can speak for God. He who prophesies builds up the church. Where's there prophesying? Where's there a church that's actually prophesying, right? Where's that seen? I know where there's one. It's called the local churches, right? The church in whatever city you live in. Living Stream Ministry, that's one that I know. But I don't see it in any of these other churches. At best, they've got a loving message. Oh, we're not like the other churches. We really love you. We don't care if you're a hippie. We don't care about your past. And that's fine. And it's, you know, it's a compromise, but it's fine. You know, because God is love. God does accept. That's true. But then what? Are we just here for entertainment? Are we just here to have a good message? So I met this girl, and she was an ex-member of the city church or the church home or whatever. And she lived her life like a heathen. She lived her life like just any other sinful girl out here, any other Jezebel out here. And she was a Jezebel. She backstabbed me and lied and cheated on me and all this other stuff that she did, you know. And she certainly didn't act Christian. And I tried to bring her to my church, tried to get her saved, and thought that I loved her and all this stuff. And I'm glad that I'm not with her now. I'm glad that I'm not with any of the women now that I dated in my dating years. But and that maybe that's God's love for me. He's looking out for me. But you know, sometimes when God loves you, he takes something away from you that's not good for you, right? But anyway, it's not that I'm judging her. It's just that what's the fruit of these type of places? It's a nice little movement. It's a nice little, you know, and God can work through it. God can gain some souls, you know. So it's not that I'm condemning it fully. I'm not condemning it per se, but it's, call it for what it is, you know.
Our country is a dark and divided place, but now there's hope, and it's spreading.
This is your home, and I want you to tell all your friends about it.
Okay. I mean, you know, we need Jesus. That's a you know, people need Jesus. That's a decent message. I hope so, man. You know, I hope people get saved. I hope people really come to Christ. You know, and I think some will through something like this. I think people need hope. They need God in a dark time. I think that's true, you know. So I'm not going to condemn something like this fully, you know. And I'm not going to condemn a lot of these entertainment churches, even some of these prosperity gospel churches, because some people get saved through these people. God is still there to some extent, you know. So I you know, more power to it. I hope it succeeds. Maybe a nice message there. You know.
So here's my question to that, because all right, I love like everything we're talking about.
And now back to the degeneracy. Oh, I love everything we're talking about. And she's got these demon eyes. Look at that dead face, demon eyes. This is a woman who's been ran through by hundreds of dudes. Hundreds of dudes. Look at the skin tone, the dead eyes, the dying facial features. Like, it's a woman who's been ran through. Look at that throat. You know, I mean, let's be honest, you know, and it's, I hope she comes to Christ, hope she learns and grows, but let's be honest, like, this is, you know, these women are promiscuous, these women are not loyal anyway.
Okay, so to all of the viewers out there, including my...
And she's got a daughter, and she's trying to market herself. She wants to be famous still, or she's got, is it a daughter or a son? I don't know. She's got a child, right?
Self, right? You live life. There's gray area. You live and you
live life, you live and you learn. No, you went out and you were promiscuous. You didn't live the average life. You thought you were a bad bitch. You thought you were a diva. You still think you are. It's just that now you're trying to market yourself different because you have a kid. Now you're trying to change and da-da-da-da. You don't want the consequences of your actions.
Right? So where the from here? So do I play the shame game where everybody walks away a loser? Because I can do that. I beat myself up my entire life for every decision.
Or just, maybe don't beat yourself up. Maybe just realize, hey, I lowered my value. I lowered my value, and now any man who I date or who's supposed to love me has to compromise. Now I'm the type of woman that a guy has to settle for. I'm a compromise. I'm no longer a prize. I'm no longer a rare gem that a guy gets lucky. Because this is what happens when women go out and sleep around, is that is all gone. You're no longer this pure woman for this one man. You were a community receptacle. You were passed around, and so that ruins the sanctity of your future relationships. You are a compromise now. And women will do everything they can to combat that and to counter that by raising their value, making more money, right? They try to raise their value any way they can, get more confidence, read these self-improvement books, work out, get hot, with their body, whatever, eat better, all this stuff that they do. But they still don't realize that they can't make up for what's lost, is that sanctity. You will never get that back. And in the most extreme cases is you're famous for being a hoe, like Mia Khalifa, or you're famous for being a hoe, like Brie Olson. And now you gotta, everywhere you go, people recognize you and they're like, oh yeah, that's that hoe from Pornhub, right? And they're like, damn, now I can't even go outside. I'm afraid people will recognize me as a hoe. A lot of women out there, they have anonymity. Now, this could be the narcissism of some of these women is that they don't care that they're recognized as a hoe. They'd rather just be recognized, period, which is like, you know, something's wrong with your heart. Something wrong with your soul in that case.
I've ever made, right? It got me nowhere. No. So I value myself. I see the world differently.
That's bullshit. That's a lie. It got me nowhere. No, it got you rich. It got you famous. And that's what you wanted. But maybe she's trying to say that like now she wants some kind of inner value. I don't know, but I don't see that. I don't know if I believe that from her body language and from what type of person she is. I think what she's trying to do is sell herself and become like an Oprah, because Oprah is very popular and Oprah has this like, oh, you know, kind of like, what's Oprah? Oprah is like a, you know, in her own context, she's kind of like a moral pastor in a way for goodness and like, oh honey, you know, empower yourself, or like treat yourself better, or you're worth something, you're worth more. And she gives young women self-esteem kind of thing. But it's all phony. It's all like, it's just a bunch of crap. It's just a bunch of show. I mean, you have to be very vapid and shallow in order to like something like that. It's like Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul or something. It's like these nice little feel-good stories, these nice little like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, you know, so that's what she's trying to say, is something like, well, I want something more with life, or like, it's just a weird thing. It's like, yeah, so it's like you want everything. It's all about you. You went out, you had your fun with sex, all kinds of sex. You're still having a lot of sex. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how much you turn over a leaf. You're still having a lot of sex. And then now you went out and got famous. You used that to get rich and famous. You achieved that, and now you want to flip it and for people to think you're wholesome, and you're not. You're just portraying yourself as wholesome. And even if you want to be wholesome, it's like it's still part and parcel of like your selfishness. Like you want to be wholesome for your image. You want to be wholesome so that people will respect you or something. Like, oh, she's changed. She's wholesome now. Woo woo woo. And it's like, it's not who you really are. It's just, that's just how you want to be perceived. And so you're selling yourself as, oh, I'm moral now and I've changed and I'm not who I used to be. And this is what a lot of girls do, is like, don't judge me on my past, even though they'll absolutely judge a guy for his past, right? If his past affects his future, meaning like his past, you know, bars him from making a lot of money, or his past means he can't be a high resource earner or something, then she'll absolutely judge a man from his past, right? So there's for sure double standards. She's just trying to have her cake and eat it too here. That's all this is, oh, I still want to be respected. I still want empowerment. I don't want to be looked at as this dirty hoe. And how can I do that? How can I manipulate people into thinking that I've changed, or like now I'm wholesome, and it's all just ego. It's all just like, give me my cake and eat it too. Now that I've had a lot of sex and had all my fun and still having sex and woo-woo, and I got my kid and I got my money and I'm all taken care of, now I want the public to view me differently. I don't want, even though I used sex and promiscuity to get everything that I wanted, now how do I flip the public opinion of me onto something more wholesome? That's all this is marketing.
Through a series of events, right? So what comes next? Because that's where I'm confused, right? Because I'm not, it's like, if you don't, if it's not like gifted to you, like even in your situation, like.
What comes next is that people don't respect you. What comes next is that it's just like a man. If a man works a low-paying job, or a job that nobody cares about, nobody respects him. Nobody really cares. A guy works at a gas station, you're a nobody. Like, people just, yeah, here, give me $10 on pump number 2. Like, that's all that matters. They don't respect you or care about you. Like, but with a woman, it's like your past matter. It's who you are. Like, your purity is directly attached to your worth, just like a man's resources and his job identity is attached to his worth, which is, I don't necessarily agree with that for men or women necessarily. It's like, people should have worth regardless. But, it definitely, in my mind, I would actually respect a guy who worked at a gas station more than a porn star, a female porn star. Because it ain't about money or status. It's about the guy. At least he's earning it. At least he's working hard, and you know what I mean. At least he's not using some kind of evil promiscuity, immoral behavior to get his money. It's more respectable, in my opinion.
Your dad provided you a life that, like, so many people would kill for. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why it's like,
okay, she's got a point there, but what she's trying to say is, I mean, that's true. Like, yeah, some people get a silver spoon handed to them, but what she's saying is like, oh, I had to go out and get mine by being promiscuous. I had to go out and get mine by sleeping with athletes, and I got mine, but so now I also want the respect. It's like, that doesn't work. That's the difference, Brittany, is that you didn't earn it. You didn't work hard like Kobe Bryant, spending countless hours in the gym to get your money. You got it by opening your legs, which is bananas to think about. So, of course, nobody respects you. Of course, nobody thinks you're a good person. Of course, nobody thinks you're a good mother. Of course, nobody thinks you're moral. Because that's just common sense.
it sucks.
And it's not that, like, I want this person to have mud thrown on them constantly. It's not that I want them to, like, go out and have to feel like nobody loves them or cares about them. It's not that I want pain on these people, these women, but, like, I remember when these women treated me like I was a piece of dirt because I didn't have money. I remember when these women treated me like I was less than a worm because I wasn't as hot as another guy, or I didn't drive a nice car. Like, I remember that. So it's hard for me to, like, really feel much empathy for a woman who gets the consequences of her own actions. It really is hard for me to really have a lot of empathy and care that she's being ostracized by society or judged or whatever, because I was judged. I was ostracized by the same type of women who were out sleeping around, and I wasn't cool enough to date them, or I wasn't rich enough to have a relationship with one of them. They wouldn't marry me because I didn't dress good enough, or I didn't have this job, or this, that, and the third. And this is the ego, the solipsism of these young women, is they treat men like that, and then they have their cake and they want to eat it too. They go out and sleep around with a bunch of different guys. They get their money through alimony or however. And then they turn around and they're like, oh, I also want the respect. I also want the adoration from people. I want women, or I want humanity to still treat me like I'm an equal, or to still treat me like I'm worth it, or I'm worthy or worthwhile. Like, look at this woman. You know what I mean? Like, what is she bringing to the table? What is she enhancing anything? Like, you're a parasite. You're a succubus. You made your money off of sleeping around, and you planned it out. You admitted to it. You said, oh, these sports players don't use condoms, so if you ever want to trap a guy, go sleep with a sports player. And that's exactly what she did. And now she's getting a $250,000 check, or however many $1,000s of checks every month, a check every month for however many thousands of dollars. And she didn't have to work. She didn't have to toil. She didn't have to go work at Jamba Juice. She doesn't have to go be the manager at the museum or whatever the hell. This is not an average woman, and yet this ego, this parasitic, predatory, I would even use the word predatory, ego is trying to manipulate her reality into people loving her and caring for her because, oh, I've changed. This is a diplomat. This is a politician. This is a woman who's well-versed in psychology. These women are out here studying psychology. Trust me. These young women are out here studying psychology. Let me repeat that. These women are out here studying psychology. These women are out here studying psychology, like literally reading psychology books. Because they're learning and trying to figure out how to manipulate people into caring about them, into loving them, into forgiving them, into, you know, and it's like, yeah, people deserve forgiveness. Like, as far as God is concerned, like, yes, I'm a sinner too. If God didn't forgive me, then I would be nothing and nowhere. And I believe everybody can come to God for forgiveness. It's just, you know, and I think God will wash away our sins, you know. And if you really genuinely want to turn over a new life, I don't even think she'd be on TV if she really wanted that. I think she wants to stay in the public eye. I think that she's riding off her fame, and I think that this is what she's trying to do, is exactly what Andrew Tate is doing, speaking out and manifesting. The irony is what she's doing, what he's been doing, is speaking out and manifesting their future by telling people how to treat them. This is all just a study in psychology. A lot of times you tell people how to treat you by your words and by how you frame yourself. And that's what she's doing.
Because the reason I hate these conversations is because it's never about, like, empathy. Do I understand the scales and how someone may view you for this, that, and the third? Okay.
Yeah, but what's funny is these women didn't have empathy for me. These women don't have empathy for the average man. They don't care what I've suffered. It doesn't matter to them. What they care about is my bank account. That's what they care about. They don't care about how much I've toiled and suffered, or how much I've been through, how much I've overcome, how hard it was for me to not commit suicide in such and such year, and I was having a hard time in my life, how hard it was for me to do this or that. They don't care. All they want is, what can you do for my lifestyle? What can you do for my bank account? What can you do for my, what are you putting on my manicure and my pedicure and my makeup and my hair and my clothes? What are you doing for me, as far as restaurants? That's all they care about. And she's no different. All she's trying to do is pretend like she's Oprah and manipulate the public into keeping her famous and to accepting her now. Oh, she's changed. She's changed. No.
Hey, but
she's talking about empathy for her. Meanwhile, she has no empathy for a broke man. I guarantee it. She has no empathy for the average guy, what the average guy goes through. And Andrew Tate, he's going to talk about that. He talks about that elsewhere, but he talks about that, is that the average guy, and he's right about that. Again, Andrew Tate's mixed. He's right. He's very right about some things, and other things is different. But he talks about the average guy is not happy. The average guy suffers a lot. It's much harder to be a man than it is to be a woman. And that's the reality. So why should we have empathy on her and have empathy on these ex-hoes who've quote unquote turned over a new leaf when they have zero empathy for us? They don't care about us. All they care about is what we can do for them. So why would we care about them? And this is why the average guy's like, yeah, right. Because men aren't stupid. Men know exactly what I'm talking about. We don't want nothing to do with these type of women. And we don't respect them, and we never will, because they're just manipulators. They're just fabricators. They're just profiteers. Oh, feel sorry for them with your crocodile tears. You don't care about men.
moving forward, then what? So, okay, so I'm just gonna, like I said, make it about myself. I'm 30.
Of course you're making it about yourself. That's why you're there. That's all you're talking about is about you. There is no moving on. There's no going forward. You're done. In a couple of years, no one will remember who you are. I don't think you're going to be another Kelly Rowland. I don't think you're going to be an Oprah. Because I don't even think a lot of women respect you. The average woman doesn't respect you. The hoes might respect you. You might be a hoe whisperer. You might be a inspiration and a role model to some hoes, just like Andrew Tate might be an inspiration and a role model to some like autistic kids who dream of being billionaires someday. Like the average guy looks at Andrew Tate and they're like, this guy's full of it. He's not, he's just preaching some crap about success. And like some of the stuff he says is right on, but like I wouldn't want to live Andrew Tate's lifestyle. Like it's not that I wouldn't want to be rich. It's that he's braggadocious. He's not a cool guy. He's not humble. He's like, I'm number one. I'm top G. Like, you know how stupid that sounds? Like, you just sound like an arrogant piece of crap. Like, what's that? Billy Madison movie with Adam Sandler and like, oh, Doyle rules. Oh, Doyle rules. That's what Andrew Tate's like. Those guys, if you ever seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like just these braggadocious, blowhard guys who are always talking about how much money they have and how cool they are. Like That's not cool, man.
Single mom.
Single moms be talking about, I'm gonna give my son the world. Bruh, you couldn't even give him a dad the
That's pretty funny.
My checkered past is all over Instagram.
As it should be.
Forward, onward, upward. Okay. I know a lot of you are skeptical about talking to people with children, but I can assure you, the baby mamas now, today, we don't give a damn. You can have them. I have exited the rat race. I am not a threat. I want you to be around for a long time, not a good time. You can hold my son, put him on your story. I trust his judgment.
Gross.
I really do. I really, really do. I just want you guys to be happy. I swear. I do.
Marketing herself.
I'm not a threat, but you know I can't speak for the other hoes that you don't know about. You know, maybe odds ever be in your favor.
You're not a threat. You're a liability. You're used goods. That's what you are. You're a used up towel, right? Like how many guys have busted on you? How many guys have busted in you? Your skin tone's all out of whack. You got a bad attitude. I don't care how much. I don't care what you say. I care about how you carry yourself. I care about what you do. Right? You got a kid from another guy, and you're marketing yourself, trying to tell you, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good." Like, no, you're not. You're just as ratchet and messed up as all these other girls. You're just smart enough to not advertise it. You're just a little bit smarter than these other girls. That's it. You're just smart enough to realize, oh, I shouldn't market myself that way because it makes me look bad. And so you're trying to tell us how we should feel about you, when in reality, your track record speaks for itself. You're a homie hopper. You're a celebrity chaser. You're a gold digger. And you're a successful gold digger. And that's fine. But you can't have your cake and eat it too, guys. You're not going to be able to do what you did and have guys or most quality women respect you. Sorry. You're just an anomaly. You're a circus show at this point.
But.
And you got a crazy vibe about you. You got crazy eyes. You're crazy. You not only are you used goods, you're crazy. I tell you got mental issues. You're not stable, and I think you're dangerous. And I think you're a narcissist. I think you're lying. Look at your eyes. Look at your facial expressions.
I am here for it. Okay?
No, you're not.
People move on. Save you should have got the ring first.
No, you should have got the ring first. You should have been a quality moral woman in the beginning, and you're not a quality woman even now. I don't care how much you tell us that you've changed and let's move on and woo. You're just trying to manifest your future through words. You're just trying to manipulate people's feelings for you through words, and it ain't gonna work because people care about your actions and your past. It is what it is. It is what it is. And it's not like we're judging you for having a disability or for something that's out of your power. You had the power to be different. You had the power. It was your choice. You chose to be a hoe. You chose to be a gold digger, and you were successful at that. And now you also want to manipulate the system so much that you think we're gonna celebritize you, make you a celebrity. What?
First, it wasn't gonna work out anyways. It just wasn't gonna work out. Let's laugh together.
Let's not laugh together. We're laughing at you. It wasn't going to work out, so you don't have sex with that guy. That's what your parents are supposed to teach you. That's what your parents are supposed to teach you.
And let's raise this baby, you know?
No.
It's officially stepdad.
No, it's not officially stepdaddy season. No, it's not. Nobody wants to raise your kid from another father. Only a sucker. And the reason why a lot of these girls like Mia Khalifa and Brittany Renner and whoever are single is because they're hypergamous, because they can't find guys in their class. This is the curse of becoming famous as a woman, is your hypergamy says, oh no, I'm rich. I can't be with a broke guy. I got to have another guy of my status. But guys of your status, if they're rich, they don't want you. That's the curse. So she's desperate. This is desperation right here. Desperation. Look at this tattoo. What is that? A horn? That's disgusting, man. Is this woman a Satanist too?
Yeah, what I got the car seat in the back.
Car seat in the back.
My cheeks slay
Gross.
warriors.
Gross. No, that's a turnoff. You having a car seat in the back is equivalent to a guy living with his mother. It's just disgusting. Like, guys look at that and they run the other way. We don't want to raise some kid from another guy. The fuck? No.
This. Okay. So what would be your advice to people like me then?
But I don't believe in grey area. I believe black and white.
Just disappear. Just disappear. We don't want to see your face. We don't want to see you. You already are making millions of dollars off of your rich baby daddy. What do you want? She wants fame. She wants notoriety. She still wants to be accepted mainstream. No. Disappear. That's your advice. Take your licks, take your lumps. You made a bunch of mistakes. Go off into obscurity and live your changed life there. You're not going to be accepted mainstream. You're not going to become a household name. You have made your money being a hoe. Being a chicken head, being a side chick, being a gold digger. That's how you became famous. It's not going to work out. You didn't bring anything artistic to the world. You didn't make a great movie. You didn't win a Super Bowl. You didn't create any piece of artwork. You didn't create an electric car. There's nothing about you that is notable or has as much notoriety to make you a household name for fame. And it's not going to work, Brittany Renner. Give it up. And you're aging and you look bad. Your hair looks bad that way. You never were that hot. Without makeup, you look bad. You're like a 4 without makeup. You figured out how to be sexy on Instagram and get an athlete to have sex with you, and now you're making money off that, and just live off that. You got your ill-gotten gains. Now raise your little ill-gotten child, who's really just your means of an income, and just go live in obscurity. You have nothing to give to the world. You're not interesting. You're not intelligent. You're not artistic. You're a joke. In fact, the only reason that you are even famous is because people like to jeer at you. Is because people look at you and they're like, ugh, can't stand her. And there's some kind of entertainment there. That's it. And it's gonna pass. Your 15 minutes of fame is gonna be up, just like Mia Khalifa's 15 minutes of fame is up. The only reason Mia Khalifa's name is still even being brought up is because the world likes seeing a train wreck. It likes to gawk at a train wreck or a car accident in the same way. Something about human nature that takes some kind of pleasure in, like, ha, you got your karma. You made your bed, now lie in it. You got a divorce from your little husband. You thought everything was great. You shoved it in everyone's face. Oh, yeah, I'm a porn star, but my husband still loved me. And now we live this happy life. Woo, woo, woo. Up, divorce. 2 years later, divorce. Now you're back on OnlyFans. Now you're back in porn. And you were never that hot to begin with, Mia Khalifa. But because you put on a burqa one time, you became super famous because there was a war in Iraq. Like, you're a flash in the pan. In 5 years, people will be like, hey, remember Mia Khalifa? And people will be like, who? Oh, you don't remember Mia Khalifa? Hey, you know who Mia Khalifa is? Do you know who Brittany Renner is? Who? Nobody cares. You are a circus show. You're a sideshow at a circus. You're a sideshow at a dumpster fire. You're a tap dancer at a dumpster fire. That's the only reason you're getting interest. Is because guys don't like promiscuous women, and there's this hotbed issue of promiscuity going on in the world. And you're at the forefront of it. That's the only reason you're famous. They're not going to accept you, Britt. You don't have a talent. You bring nothing to the table. You don't have a talent. Remember a time when people used to have a talent to become famous? Used to be an actor, singer, something. You had an act. You don't. You're just a not even very good looking woman who got famous for being a gold digger. I mean, like, how else? What more do you need to say? You know, she just doesn't get it.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Her narcissism is so jacked up. She's so ratchet. At the beginning of this, I thought she was turned over nearly. I don't even know if this woman, if that's possible. Anyway, I hope there's hope for everybody. But she's so oblivious to her own situation. Maybe someday when she's 50, she'll understand, but probably not. She'll try to turn around and like, oh, my struggle, my journey, and write a book and like, oh, yeah. The world is just so jacked up. Anyway, she just doesn't get it.
Because there's gray.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
There's gray.
There's gray in life.
You know what?
To answer, wait, I'm gonna answer. I mean, I just think there's consequences for your decisions, and I just think like my best advice would be to like lower your standards.
Bam. There's consequences for your decisions. You made your bed, lie in it, just like guys have to. Guys take a wrong turn. There's no one to bail us out. There's no one, to help us. There's consequences for your actions in life. And what do you she wants her cake and to eat it too. And it's just bananas.
Like that. Because I just think there's going to be consequences for putting, promiscuous stuff on the internet.
Okay.
And you probably won't get the type of guy that you could have got at 22.
Do you know?
And she's being sarcastic here, or I should say you were sarcastic. She's being sardonic. That might not be the right word. She's being condescending because she knows how stupid Brittany Renner is. And it's obvious to anyone with half a brain. It's like, yeah, everybody knows you as a hoe. And now you want people to know you in some other light. And you don't even, that's your whole personality. You don't even have anything else. You don't even have any other identity. That's your whole identity. That's your whole persona. That's how we know you, as that hoe Brittany Renner. So it's like this, I like Pearly things. She's kind of funny. She's smart. I like anybody who tells the truth. Anybody who tells it straight up like it is. And she's being coy here. She's being condescending because like she knows Brittany Renner isn't smart enough to get it. Is that, hey, that's how that's how we know you. That's how you made your bed. That's the bed that you made, and you got to lie in it. Lower your standards. Just go into obscurity, and hopefully you can find some sucker to raise your kid from another guy. It's just like you compromised your life. For what? Fame and riches, and you got it, but not in a good way. Not in the right way. You didn't earn it. You didn't have a talent. You didn't give something to the world. You didn't bring anything quality into the world. You're a sideshow. You're a circus act. And it will end. People will get bored. What are we seeing this hoe for? I don't want to see her anymore. Who cares about Brittany Renner? Because they've seen it all before. You're a one-trick pony. Your only trick is that people jeer at you. That's it. It's over. I mean, like, you got, 6 months, a year before people forget your name?
It wasn't meant to be that.
What you have to understand is what men are looking for in a relationship. So you did the street interview, and you're asking single people, probably young people, probably idiots who know they're on camera talking shit about good head, all this garbage. It's bullshit. What men are interested in life, not just in their relationship, but in their life as a whole, is status. I don't think most people understand, especially women, how competitive the male world is and how...
Wrong. Men are interested in women. That's what men are interested in. Men are not interested in status in and of itself. Men are interested in status as a tool or a vehicle to get us what we want in life, which is either money or women. And money brings women, and money also brings peace. It brings accessibility to good times. It brings accessibility to security. It brings accessibility to a fun, good, enjoyable life. So status is a tool. Status is a vehicle to get men what they want. Anybody who thinks that men want status in and of itself, just for status in and of itself, is just incorrect. And if they do want that, it's because that they have low self-esteem and they want to be loved, or they want to be looked at like, oh, was it The Great Gatsby? Isn't that what happened with him or whatever? It's kind of this vapid personality where if that's all you care about is what other people think of you, and that's why you want status, like you have low self-esteem. You live a sheltered life. Or if all you care, if the love that you think status brings you is all you want, then you're not, you need to have, as a man, you need to learn to be self-sufficient insofar as you are enjoying life in and of yourself. You don't need other people to enjoy your life. When you can reach that level of human living as a man, then you've really kind of escaped the matrix. You're not tied into anything. You don't rely on anybody else for anything per se. It's not that you don't ever enjoy friends, or you don't ever enjoy company, or you don't ever enjoy other people. To some extent, I think humans need interaction with other people to some extent. But if that's where you're garnishing your energy and your source of life from, you got a big problem. Because that can come and go, and most of the time it really goes. And this is why a lot of people are so lonely. This is why a lot of people are so depressed. A lot of men are so depressed, and a lot of guys commit suicide, because they don't realize that you don't need other people to be happy. You can find something to be happy with, particularly God. Highly recommend having a relationship with God. It can take the place of your need for other people's attention and love, which is really just, there really is no such thing. Most people do not love other people unless they're part of your family, and even then the love is pretty thin. But anyway.
And if it is for status, this is why men do everything they do. Men buy the faster car, not to drive any faster, because of status. This is why we want a bigger house. We don't give a shit where we live. It's because of status.
For women. Men want status for women. I don't believe status in and of itself. Again, I don't believe status in and of itself is what fulfills men. It's the peace and the security and how you feel around knowing that you own this nice house or this nice car. You're like, I got it. And it's not status in and of itself. It's to make you feel like you're good. You're secure. That's a man thing. It's just about security. And also it's about building the nest. The most basic thing. You go to the animal kingdom with a bird, and the bird is out there building the nest. Why? Because the best nest gets the best female. The best nest gets the female. That's why men want status.
That's why I want to go to the gym and get big and strong, because of status. Everything we do is about status. That's why I want the better jobs, so I want more money, so I want to be respected. So what's the number one thing we want our female to give us? Status. That's what we want. So she can give us status by being beautiful. That's one thing she can do.
No, I disagree with that. Guys don't want women so women can give us status. That's a weird type of guy who wants that. Maybe some men do, but I don't believe as a whole that's what men want women for. I believe men want women for companionship, for physical intimacy, for sex, for support, emotional, to make himself feel better about himself, as a helpmeet, which is what God said in the Bible. I've created a woman for you so you won't be alone, so you'll have helpmeet, so you can not be lonely, right? And somebody who just helps you in life, somebody who's your partner and helps you go through the hardships of life. In addition to being intimate and loving that person, having a soul bond and going out and doing nice things, which is why the institution of marriage and love and all that is such a beautiful concept, because it checks off all those boxes. It can, and which is why so many guys are being sold short on these messed up women of today, and why women are so warped to think that it's all about them, which is why it ruins all of that beauty. It's such a beautiful thing. That could be love. That could be a quality marriage and a quality relationship. It could be that wonderful enjoyment. It has the potential to be that those wonderful life experiences for the rest of your life with this one beautiful, loving person. But instead, it's all about her, or it's she's messed up, or she's got a kid from another guy, or it's like you will never fully love that kid. You might love that kid, but you'll never love that kid like he was your own son. That's a lie. If anybody thinks that, if any woman is saying that, he loves him just like he's your own, like bullshit. You'll never love another man's child like you will love your own child, because you can't. It's impossible. It's not the same thing. When you love your own child, it's a special kind of love, and that's what it's supposed to be, which is why any guy marrying or getting into a relationship with a single mom is selling themselves short. Is really, really selling themselves short. Drastically. I mean, big time. Because that's not your kid. And you're supposed to, and if you want a kid, I could see if her kid was grown and you're older and you don't want kids, whatever, that's all right. That's a different story. But your kid's young, he's baggage. Her son or her daughter is baggage into the relationship. That's a whole different story, man. Whole different story. That's a monumentally gigantic compromise in your personal life. For any man. And the only reason I think a man will do that is because he's compromising. 2, he has no other options. Or 3, she's just so gorgeous that he just compromises, and he's like, all right, she's just smoking hot, and she's got this kid, and I'm out here dating 4s, 4 out of 10s, and she's a 10 out of 10 smoking hot. Then maybe I'll deal with this little kid from another guy, maybe. But even then, don't do it. You're compromising yourself, particularly if you want a kid. Anyway.
But another thing she could do is if I turn up home and I come home with my boys and she says, I'll cook you all a steak. That's status. That's all my boys going, Ross, you just been out all night and she's here and she's going to cook for all of us and she'll clean up and tidy up. Boom. That's the kind of girl a man's not going to want to lose because it makes him look good.
Yeah, that's just your ego. That's just ego. No one gives a crap about that, and you shouldn't give a crap about that. And if you do give a crap about that, you're egotistical. This is where Andrew Tate is wrong. This is where Andrew Tate is not a good role model. This is just ego advice. Oh, you want a woman? You come and she cooks you a steak. Like, who gives a crap? Cook your own steak, or don't. You don't have to have steak. Bust out some potato chips. Like, who cares? I mean, I guess it'd be nice. Like, I'd appreciate that. That's fine. Like, but I'm not like, oh, I want to impress my boys. Like, I don't even have boys. People are grown up. Anybody who's past age 25 does not care about anything like that. Why would you? Oh, I got it like this. Oh, I'm going to impress my boys. Like, who cares what your little boys think? We're all, past 25, you're an adult, and you're like, dude, I got better things to do than impress some dudes. You know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit? I don't care. Oh, impress my boys. Like, come to my cool pad on my helicopter, and my wife's going to cook you a steak. Like, who cares? How about go for a walk in the countryside? Enjoy nature. Enjoy God's creation. That's quality. That's something good. Like, do something cool. Oh, come home and my wife cooked me a steak. Oh, dude, you got it like that. Like, your wife's the shit, dude. Like, what are we in 7th grade? Like, you go to a friend's house and, like, his mom, like, cooks you, like, some Hot Pockets or some dumb shit, and you're like, oh, your mom's the coolest, and she gives you, like, chocolate milk or pop with Hot Pockets or something. You're like, your mom's the coolest. She just came in and gave us this, and we're playing video games. This is so cool. It's like, yeah, that's cool when you're in 7th grade, but what the fuck? Like, your wife is going to cook you steak? I mean, that's pretty cringe, man. I don't know. Like, it's not that I don't like a steak, and it's like, if your wife does that out of her own hospitality, I'd be like, oh, that's nice, that's cool, man. Like, but I wouldn't be like, oh, dude, you're the shit because your wife cooked a steak. Like, who gives a crap? Like, such a dumb analysis, such a dumb example. Anyway, that's just Andrew Tate, man. That's Andrew Tate. It's not about status. Guys don't care about guys don't want women to bring them status. Guys want status to bring them women. That's male nature. Male nature is like, I need to get this status, get this money, get this level of success so that I can get the woman. That's what guys do. So he's wrong on that. Sorry to say.
That's what men want. Status.
That's a fact.
Now let's hear what the girls have to say after the podcast.
So Brittany, why don't you start? What did you think?
Miss Brittany.
I felt like he was really polite in person. I didn't expect him to be, like you said, so smiley, very warm, and I will say that I do feel like he is pretty grounded. He is fair. There were just things, obviously, I just don't agree with about the being agreeable to the point of where it's not your own identity, but I also understood where he was coming from. I understood the perspective. I don't agree, but no, I felt like he was like so different in person, and I feel like that's why you can't really judge people based on that. He was just different. I don't know. Am I tripping? Did you guys feel that way?
No. Go, Denava, why don't you? 45 seconds.
I liked him a lot. I remember when he got cancelled, I said, the only problem with this guy is the fact that he's exposing certain truths and not providing a solution to those who are suffering from it. That's it.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment.
Oh, she's right. He's talking about certain truths, and he's not. Ooh, I like her. She tells the truth. She tells it like it is. This is the second big truth she told it like it is. he provides the problem, but he's not providing the answer. That's true. He's not a proponent of the answer. He's not a role model of the answer. What's his answer? Oh, get more bitches, get more money, get more Bugattis. And then he comes around and says, well, that stuff doesn't really fulfill me. What fills me is being a net force for good for the world. But how are you a net force for good in the world if your answer is to big up polygamy? If your answer is to promote men, having a lot of money, and if you don't have a lot of money, then you're nothing. Like, that's not helping most guys. You might motivate some guys to hit the gym a couple more times. You might motivate some guys to like try to make more money, and it might work for a small percentage of guys, but I don't think you're going to be a net force for good for the world by just telling guys they need to be rich or else they're losers. I mean, that just doesn't, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. So she's right on that, man. So there you go, man. That's that. I'm going to break that. That's just what it is. I'm going to break away here and end this, but, wow, it's just like these are the things that we're going through, and these are things that guys, and it's not an answer, and I even think Jordan Peterson's better than Andrew Tate in that sense, that at least Jordan Peterson's like, hey, start cleaning your room, start having a better character, start being accountable with yourself, start disciplining yourself, start being more responsible. And I think Andrew Tate talks about that a little bit, but if your message is like, oh, if you're not rich, you're a loser, or if you don't have a Bugatti and a mansion, and this ego, anybody who's boasting in such a way and so prideful to call themselves number one, I'm number one, I'm the top G, like, that ain't it, bro. That ain't it, and I've criticized Tate before, and it's just like, I respect some of the things he says. I respect some of his hard work. I'm not saying he's not a hardworking guy. I don't respect the way he made a lot of his money with cam girl websites. I don't respect that at all. That's not a role model. That's part of the problem. You're a proponent of the problem in that sense. And it's kind of like a flip side of Brittany Renner. It's kind of ironic that those two are on the same podcast, because she became famous for promiscuity, and he became famous and rich for promiscuity, just in different ways, which is a weird thing to think about. And I hope people can read between the lines and really see that, is that this guy's not a role model. This is not how you want to live your life. But he's right about some things. He's right a lot about his red pill stuff about when it comes to women. He's right about a lot of that stuff, and young guys are suffering from that. So at the end of the day, this is all red pill stuff. This is all, the answer is God. The answer is Jesus, not just Allah. The answer is Jesus, who can really save, who really is a metabolic salvation within people's hearts. A literal metabolic metabolic process happens when people become born again. You literally have a new spiritual life. Your spirit, which was dead and before, becomes awake. Because there's another life that came into that area, which is Christ and God's life. So, with that said, again, that's the answer. And if you got a sordid past, you can still come to God. You can still receive love. I wouldn't throw any woman out per se. It's just, it's hard to have any respect for a woman like that. It's hard to, I would never promote, I would never sign off on a guy, co-sign for a guy to date a woman who has a promiscuous past. I would never co-sign for a guy to ever get with a woman who has a kid. It's not that kid doesn't need a father; he needs his father. And a stepdad is a poor substitute for that. And it's sad that women are forcing their children to be in that situation because of their bad choices, and they want to get out of that accountability. They want to get out of that responsibility of their actions, the consequences of their actions, which is understandable. But can guys get out of the consequences of our actions? If we don't graduate college and we don't make as much as another guy, we will lose out on a woman. We will lose out on a future with a certain woman, and women have no remorse for doing that. They have no empathy for doing that. They have no love for a guy who isn't giving them what they want. So you have to ask yourself, would a woman do the same for a man? And I would say in 99.9% of the cases, no, a woman would not. Because it's all about her. And when it comes to their animalistic nature, their survival instinct, their hypergamy, whatever you call it, there's no love there. There's no forgiveness. There's no understanding in most cases, unless she has no other better options. In most cases, for most women. Now, maybe there is one out there who will love you for who you are, just like maybe there's some guy out there who will love you for who you really are. Not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying there's not a happy ending, but you're not going to get universal respect. You're not going to get universal love. I don't think it works that way. But anyway, I'm in it there. Appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.